What's going on, everybody? It's your boy PTK Blam back in the building with another episode of the Shop Podcast. We are back with another awesome weekend, man. It's another beautiful Saturday evening. We already got people falling through in chat. We greatly appreciate all of the beautiful people watching us live. Another Saturday, the Shop Podcast 333, man. How about that, man? Already 333. So we appreciate everybody hanging out once again. Retweet the link out. Let everybody know the Shop Podcast is live, man. Got a phenomenal guest. Obviously, we got a phenomenal crew here, as we usually do. But before we get into the pleasantries, like I said, I appreciate all of you guys hanging out on the channel. All of the engagement recently. You guys have been fucking awesome and phenomenal. So I greatly appreciate everybody hanging out with us, man. But let me go ahead and get started with our guest. We got a lot to talk about. It's been an explosive week. It's been, a lot of emotions, a lot of stuff going on, but we'll get into that. But we got to get to this guest first, man. And once again, this man doesn't really need any introduction. Another family member back on the show. It's been a little bit of time, but, we always like to double back and, grab this individual to come on the show. One of my favorite people, just individual to talk to, just even outside the game. And my brother, Mr. K. Asante. How you doing, brother?
Good evening, gentlemen. I am so happy to be here. It's been a minute. I'm so sorry. Life grabs you, and sometimes won't let you go. But I'm happy to be here. It's great to just be able to say, "Yep, I'll be here," and then be sitting here, not rushing to get here, not show up late. Just be able to sit here and hang out and catch up with the brother Pong Soul and of course Fuzzy Belvedere and PTK Bland. Thank you guys for having me. This is great.
Not a problem, man. How was the show as well, man? How's everything been going, man? The show's been growing like crazy. Shout out to Everborn as well too. Things been cracking off over there.
Yeah, we've been having some very interesting conversations. We keep it, we try to keep it PG, but of course it always spills over. We started a Discord channel.
Nice.
We had a Discord server, had kind of a few folks jumping in there, keeping the conversation going. Everborn likes to broadcast his development of the games that he's building, so folks like to jump on and watch him play, watch him put it together, and we have great chats. So it's been going pretty well there as well. But yeah, as good as we are, we're hoping to one day hit the heights of the Shop Podcast with their double digit numbers. You know what I'm saying? Come on now. Yes, absolutely.
Oh man, the modesty. No, I appreciate you though. Once again, shout out to Everborn, my fellow Sega brethren, man. I appreciate you hanging out. But once again, K. Asante, one of my favorite people, man. We love having you here, brother. Chat loves having you here. Everybody, once again, go follow K. Asante. Go follow Gamer Circle Podcast. One of the best shows on Saturday morning. As well, man. But appreciate having you in the building, brother. So kick back, relax your feet. We got a lot to talk about, man. But let me throw this over to my two right-hand men, my brothers that make this show possible. We'll start with you, Mr. Fuzzy Belvedere, man. It's been a crazy week. How you been, brother?
Oh, yeah. I've been great. Glad to be here. Glad we got K. Asante on here tonight as well. Man, just Twitter has been a mess, and just gaming in general, just it seems like it's tearing at its own seams kind of thing. But we'll get into a lot of that stuff. But it's still, all in all, a bright 2024 from the consumer side. But man, this industry is it's self-correcting or tearing itself apart. I don't know. But we'll talk about it.
That depends on who you follow on the old Twitter app, right? That depends on that answer to that question. But shout out to you, Fuzz, man. Yeah, just been crazy. Chat, you guys know, man. Things been crazy. We're gonna talk about it. We don't avoid smoke here at all on the Shop Podcast. We run to the smoke. So appreciate all you guys for hanging out with us. And what's up, Steel? Dropping through. What's up, Spartan? Doggy Dog 420. Appreciate all of you fine gentlemen hanging out with us. Once again, retweet that link, man. Mr. Pong Soul. How you been, brother? You was telling us pregame. You've been knocking out some games, finishing things up.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. What a week. First of all, it's fantastic to have Mr. K. Asante back on the show. It's been too long, brother. Great to hear your voice, man. And of course, be back here with Blam and Fuzzy as well. My two brothers from another right here. But yeah, what a week. Listen, it was Palworld early. Then Diablo Season 3. Got into that. Me and Mav, two fire sorks, having a freaking blast, just lighting everything on fire, entire rooms full of flames, melting. That was fun. And then a little game called Tekken 8 drop. the first fighting game that I have picked up day one since Soul Calibur 4. I went back through all the lists trying to figure out which was the last that I'd bought day one, because I usually buy a lot of them, right? But again, I wait for sales, I wait for complete editions, because I'm a single player guy. I'm not fighting multiplayer. But man, Tekken 8, after seeing the build up in hype, this is not a FOMO story, by the way, but seeing the build up in hype and how it was all coming together, and I just kept getting more and more excited. And then I played that demo, and it just absolutely solidified it. So I picked that up day one, and been rocking Tekken 8 ever since that point. Just beat the storyline today. It's not the storyline isn't the longest in the world. One, you could probably do it in one sitting. I did it in a few sittings, of course, with my broken schedule and stuff. But but it is unbelievable, the production quality in Tekken 8. The team over there at Bandai Namco just absolutely crushed everything about this game. This is one of the best fighting games I played in decades. As far as feeling goes, as far as how it looks, every little detail in this game is taken care of. There's a couple things here and there. The sound could be adjusted and some of the cinematics and stuff. But this is one of the few games that I've ever played where I can actually say you go from the cinematics to the battle. The battle actually looks better than the cinematics do. Like, that's how good this is. And I think they did that on purpose, like I said before, because the fighting is the main course, right? Let's be real. But I just think they did, coming from Tekken 7, really taking a look at themselves in the mirror and going, okay, we need to come back with the fighting game that we know we can make, and we need to make it current gen. We need to bring it up to speed. We need to do something big. So let's do what, graphically, of course, fidelity wise, detail, let's do all of that, but let's add a story. And it's a wild, it doesn't take itself serious kind of story. It's got anime flavor to it. Like, it is so damn fun and so damn cool. They got the characters right. They got the voice acting right. They did everything right. So they said, let's add that. And they said, oh, you know what? There's a lot of people out there like extra stuff in fighting games nowadays. And we've been doing that for a while. Tekken 7 did have some extra stuff, but let's take it up a notch. Let's create this arcade story mode, this versus mode, where you create a little avatar, a cute little kid like avatar, and you go work your way up through the ranks, through the arcade, to go to the main Tekken tournament and become Tekken champion. Let's do that, where you can earn your money and you can build off all the cosmetics and all that kind of stuff. You can buy the cosmetics just like they had in Tekken 7. Let's do that too, on top of everything else. And then let's throw in, obviously, fantastic online multiplayer, which I won't touch. Let's just do all of it. Let's do all of it. And then after you're done with after you're done with the main story, why don't we give all the characters their own little story missions too? Let's just add more to this package. They've done it all, and this game feels simply sublime when you're playing it. Every single hit, every single move just feels so good. Accessibility through the charts. Play how you want to play. If you're a button masher like me, you can set it up that way. I beat the storyline on medium. Only had to
one question.
Go ahead.
One question for you, sir.
Yeah, shoot.
To me, the standard bearer of a great campaign in a fighter, because like you, sir, I'm a grazer, and also like you, I'm a single player main. So in the rare occurrence that I buy multiple fighting games, which I do buy them also on sale and whatnot, I always buy them for that campaign. Sure. And to me, Mortal Kombat has set the standard of that first person campaign driven excellent storytelling, right?
Yes.
If we can establish that that is the standard bearer on that scale, how well do they do?
Oh, good question.
Shorter, more wild and wacky than Mortal Kombat, whereas Mortal Kombat takes a little bit more serious tone to it. You got to suspend some disbelief. They got the Tekken humor in here. But I think that, again, because I'm just judging it on its own, because it's a different type of story. I loved it, but I like that stuff. I like that Eastern flavor. I like the weird. Okay. I like the wild. So for me, it was great. For me, as somebody who doesn't, hang on every word of Tekken lore or anything like that, this actually got me interested in a bunch of the characters, and they did a fantastic job with it. I would probably still say, if you just want to talk about overall quality of story, probably Mortal Kombat. I haven't played Mortal Kombat 1 yet, but if we're looking at Mortal Kombat 11, I'd probably say that. Mavs told me Mortal Kombat 1 has a better story even than Mortal Kombat 11. So I will probably say Mortal Kombat overall would, but this is an enjoyable ride. It's just short, right? It is short. You can do it in one sitting.
Yeah.
But there's a lot else there too to get through. But the fighting itself, which is obviously the core of the gameplay, I've always called Tekken the heavy fighter because every single move, every single punch, every single kick has so much weight behind it, no matter what character you're using, and it's really so ridiculous what they did with this in the actual fighting itself. They have moments where you pull off combos that they go into the slow motion and your character says a few words to the other character as he's kicking his ass, right? It's just, it feels so good, man. I mean, every fighter's got to have those twists, right? Obviously, Mortal Kombat's got the gruesome fatalities. Street Fighter's got their extremely stylized, now special moves and kind of stuff they pull off. And this has got, this is Unreal Engine 5. So this has got, all the particle effects, all the bright color, everything is just popping off the screen. And yet they add these just little moments where you go, oh, that was so damn cool, man. That was so damn cool. Did you see that? So they created their own kind of space here with it again in Tekken 8. But I just really think they've come back. Tekken 8, for a while, just, it was Mortal Kombat. Obviously, Street Fighter took a dip just because it was over on PlayStation as an exclusive for 5. But Mortal Kombat really held the reins, and now we've seen this resurgence of fighters. Tekken 8 here stands on its own. Again, the critics love it. It's at a 90. You can't deny that. No matter what, there's something there. This is easily one of my favorite fighting games I've played in decades. Easy.
That's awesome.
So much cool.
That's exactly what I wanted to hear. Like I said, I'm both like you and Asante. I don't do a whole bunch of fighters at all. My son does more so. He does the playing online, things like that. So I'm with you guys on that. And I knew it was going to be a good game. You know what I mean? Like, you can always count on Tekken to be at least consistent. So if they built on top of what they already had, you knew it was going to be something special. And the review showed that. Obviously, I trust you. You know what I mean? Salesman Pong. He's selling something at the beginning of every podcast, by the way.
I haven't been for the past few weeks, though. I've been selling Vampire Survivors. I've been selling all this old. I've been Dragon's Dogma, Dark Arisen. Like, I've been selling you all the old stuff. I'm finally
been popping, huh?
Yeah, we're finally to the the streak of new games here. So you're gonna be hearing a lot of new game talk out of me, current game talk out of me in the next couple weeks. And man, Suicide Squad, get ready, folks. You want to be sold on Suicide Squad, you better get ready because it's looking really juicy, and we're going to be jumping into that day one. Me, Steel, Mav, Jasper, we're all getting in on it. So you're going to be hearing a lot about that.
Yeah, I've seen some things, and I watched some people play, and it's piqued my interest as well too, where it didn't, a few weeks ago, obviously. So, I'm all into the open world looter co-op. That's me all the way. So,
yes, sir.
I'm getting more of that. If they got this huge roadmap, like I've been seeing so far,
Endgame, New Game Plus, they got it all lined up.
Streamers play as well. Some, some of the larger streamers got a chance to play early, and they were able to record some videos. So I watched that, and it looked amazing. What I saw, it looked really fun. The verticality, the speed, the size of the world, the different abilities and things you're able to do. They seem like the cohesiveness is what I enjoyed. That's what kind of stuck out for me. Outside of like graphically, it was also pretty as well too. But let's get into this, man. We got a whole lot to talk about, man. Shout out to everybody in chat. Once again, hit the like button if you have not already. If you're rocking out with us, you want to continue to do so, subscribe to the channel as well. But we got to dive into this, man, and we got to get to messy stuff right away, Pong. We got to do it, right?
Sure.
We got to go to the deep end right off the rip. Once again, panel chat. We got to do this. We don't run from any of this. So we,
one of those weeks.
It's one of them weeks where, things happen, right? The necessary evils come out, things get emotional, the Twitter streets get real hot. People get emotional, people start saying things they don't necessarily mean in the moment. But things happen, right? So just to kind of blow it all open here, obviously, there was a huge loss this week. We had Microsoft lay off about 1,900 people, and that's across obviously ABK as well as a few other departments within Microsoft itself. And obviously, I just want to start here. We don't condone layoffs. I've been laid off personally. It's never a positive for the actual individual. Layoffs only benefit the corporation. So let's start there, right? So we want to make sure, we get the human part of this out of the way, and it's never good. So in any situation, in any way, shape, or form, layoffs always suck. So I want to establish at least that baseline before we get into the particulars, Asante, because we could lose a little bit, as we talk about this. I want to establish at least that baseline, but I want to get you guys' initial thoughts, chat as well. Your initial thoughts on the news, kind of the fallout, how you feel about it, all of the tension online, just to kind of get it out. Just got to get it out here. But Asante, I know obviously you do a show. You're a content creator. You're up on these things. So kind of where you at, sitting with the information. I know it's been maybe a day or so since kind of the fallout happened, but where you at right now with all of everything that's been going on?
So I think you summed it up pretty well. I will also say that while the timing is a bit advantageous, people don't need to, but we as content creators and myself, I take it upon myself to always apply some context to what's going on here.
Absolutely.
Because it seems that when you lack that context, it lumps things together and it makes it seem worse or not, or whatever it is. It embellishes the scenario. But first, as you've established, absolutely, we have to get it out of the way. Anybody losing their job is a terrible loss.
Easy, yeah.
As a person, I've actually, it's funny. We recently spoken, because in my industry, where I work, these things are going on as well, right? They're basically pushing folks to quit, is what's happening. Long story short, that's what they're doing, right? They're inconveniencing you to a certain point to where you quit, and when you do, then you also lose your not pension, but your severance package, right? This is what they're doing to try and minimize their budget. So corporate America is doing bad things all around. So let's just establish that ground right now. But specifically to the idea that Xbox, Microsoft downsized or minimized a lot of the ABK ranks and all those almost 2,000 jobs and whatnot. While I feel for them and I feel with them, honestly, I do. If you take that back, that upward view of it all, and you look at some of the dollars and cents of it, it really does kind of make some sense. Because honestly, and shout out to the brother Post Up. If you keep a good eye on his tweets, he'll give you some really good intel that kind of opens your eyes to the matter, right? For years, they were running around 9,000 employees, give or take. For years, year after year after year after year. The year they were announced the year before Microsoft announced that they were going to buy them, they ballooned to 13,000 employees. And they kept ballooning bigger and bigger and bigger. Of course, that time was during COVID time, and everyone ballooned in size to account for the potential of, everybody's a gamer now, and everybody, the engagement numbers are through the roof, right? Now, of course, when engagement numbers fell back down to earth, now you're stuck with a whole bunch of employees. And obviously, things have been moving and shaking ever since.
Yeah.
Right. Honestly, specifically to the Microsoft point, I think it's a bit advantageous. They chose this time advantageously to do some strategic moving and shaking that they were planning on doing a while ago, right? Especially if you look at where strategically those cuts came from. It looks like they're streamlining. It looks like and myself and Everborn were chatting about it this morning. It looks like they're kind of streamlining and ready to do the things you wanted them to do. What happened? A bunch of social media managers, the roles were made redundant. What does that tell me? It tells me that they're trying to streamline the message. Instead of it coming out of all these different mouths, they're trying to streamline the message so that it comes out of one mouth instead of all those different mouths. Hey, in order to streamline and get you what you want, consumer, it may require some diversification in the roles, and that may lose some people some jobs. It's unfortunate, but that's the nature of it, right? If you really take a look at, and that's just one example. If you look at all those various places, they downsize their department that deals with physical media, right? If you look at that on the face of it, exactly, right? if you look at it on the face of it, oh, that just spells gloom and doom, right? But we all know that does not mean that physical media is going away anytime soon, right? And if you look in the actual consumer space, Walmart has announced it recently. Best Buy has announced it. They're all stopping the sale of physical media. The time is coming, right? And myself and Everborn spoke about it this morning as well. And I am sorry, all you forever physical people, you may want to hold your ears and start singing la 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 la. But I got to tell you, since the 360, you are being lied to. Unless you're a forever physical and all you buy are Nintendo cartridges, and even in that area, sometimes you're getting shafted, right? But take Nintendo aside. If you are a console gamer and all you've played is 360 and PlayStation games since the 360 gen, and you're a forever physical, they have been selling you frisbees, literally frisbees, and they've been selling it to you for $60 and $70 because ever since that time, they have literally either locked you to a server that needs to be authenticated before you can play your game, whether it's a local game or a multiplayer game, or they say it's gold and then they put 50% of the game on the disc and 50% of it in the cloud that gets downloaded after. So none of those games will ever be playable when they decide to turn them into paperweights. They've been lying to you all this time, right? And selling you top tier games at like, while all they're selling you, the plastic they're selling you, literally just gives you a hex code that gives you a license to a game on a server that they can pull away from you whenever they so choose. You know what I'm saying? So At this point, these are, and if you look at the numbers right now, the sales are so topsy-turvy when it comes to physical to digital sales. It's only a matter of time. Doesn't mean that you can't buy your record player or your records, because for those graybeards among us, you can still find them. They're still there. You can still buy records, right? I happen to scroll by on Amazon. I can still buy empty cassettes. Holy crap, they're still out there. Doesn't mean that that's the method that everybody's going to use. So they got to downsize. Some of it makes sense. Doesn't mean it feels good. I'm not saying that, let's justify it. But if you really take that high level view, you see that a lot of that stuff they're doing is consolidation. And specifically with ABK, consolidation was necessary because you knew when they got them, they didn't get them just to keep them like ZeniMax and keep them running a well-oiled machine that just needed money. No, they needed a culture change. They needed a slimming down. All that was in the sauce when you heard them talking about ABK being purchased. So this is that day, right?
Yeah.
They're just doing that stuff. So honestly, as difficult as it is, specifically with the Xbox stuff, so as difficult as it is, I just think it was just about time for them to slim down and streamline the process.
Yeah, and the one thing I don't want to forget and lost in all of this is, like I said, I mean, at the end of the day, I'm with the people. We always side with the people on this, and I think you made a great point of doing that, Asante. But we don't want to lose context in all of this either, because sometimes when you're emotional, it's okay. Like I'm okay with people being upset and mad, but like if that's how you're gonna feel, please do something productive for the people that actually got laid off, because I've seen a whole lot of people grandstanding and I've seen a whole lot of frustration and upset people, but I didn't see a whole lot of people retweeting any links or sending out any job listings.
That's right.
So if we're going to do something, we probably should do something like realistically to help people. So, I think that was just to kind of go off the cuff here. I think that was really my whole point. And, I know sometimes it gets lost in the sauce because, people do the whole console war thing and it gets all silly. And once again, we want to establish this too. I think that's incredibly disrespectful, that people use something like this in that way, either side. I don't care what side's doing it. I think that's a bit crazy too. And obviously I think we can all agree. I'm assuming you agree with that, Asante.
Absolutely.
As well too. So that can be a bit ridiculous on either side. But at the end of the day, things happen. You know what I mean? And this is something that we saw for 20 months. This deal was in place for 20 months and in court for 20 months, and they were fighting for this. And at the end of the day, it's unfortunately a necessary evil. And my question would be, and I'm gonna throw this back to you, Asante, before we get over to Pong or Fuzz. Like, the company prior to Microsoft stepping in was in terrible shape.
Yeah.
Terrible shape. They were in constant litigation. Bobby Kotick was running a company like a gentleman's club. Nobody was happy.
Indeed.
Every single studio was working on one IP. Nobody was doing
Mhm.
anything creative. They were running money. They were losing money. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Candy Crush was doing
Yep.
well, but nothing else was. You know what I mean? Financially. So there was a lot going on. So I think the trajectory of the company, and this is not to cushion anything that happened as far as the 1,900 people being laid off, because obviously that's still the primary focus here. But I mean, they weren't going in the direct. I think this would have happened. I don't know if the numbers would have been as large as Sante, but I think they were heading this direction either way.
I don't disagree. Absolutely. Now, again, like to your point, that I don't think that would have happened at this time or in this volume, but then you would have seen more losses. You would have seen the brand depreciate even further and further, to the point where they would shed those resources one way or another, whether by not being able to keep them or by having to fire them. Either way, right? Their trajectory, as you were saying, was heading downward, right? And that's exactly my point in saying that this is not the ZeniMax situation, right? People saw ZeniMax, they put them to work. All they did was basically fill them with money and say, off you go, right? But that was a different scenario. As you're pointing out, PTK, when this thing was announced, this announcement quelled the fires of all the lawsuits that were coming after them, right? The chickens had come home to roost, by and large, in many of those lawsuits, and they were getting ready for the fights of their lives, one after another. And when the idea that Microsoft, a company that's seen as a far more cut and dry, far more even keeled and straight laced company, was going to come and take them over, that seemed to quell some of the fires. Doesn't mean that all those fires are out.
No,
We may still see some of them come back, right?
Definitely.
But for a while, it quelled the fires. So the idea that they'd come back, they'd be purchased, maybe Bobby K would exit stage left. We saw Lulu exit stage right, and now they don't all go back to business as usual. Heck no, I don't think so, right? But also what people must also understand is, and this is where, not to say I'm concerned, but this is where we got to keep our eyes open. And this is maybe a left that I will throw a curveball here. This is where I keep my eyes open, because when all of this started, this company was a skunkworks project, basically, right? As far as the Xbox within Microsoft, they were allowed to run their own ticket, go their own way.
Yeah.
All the time they were playing with daddy's chump change, so nobody really paid attention, nobody cared, right? And then at some point they got in the hot seat and they borrowed $70 billion, right? And not only did they borrow the $70 billion, they made such a good case that people are now eyes open looking at them going, hey, this is actually a new beachhead we can establish our business on. So much so that they have now a bigger budget than the horse that got them here, which is Windows, right? So because they are now in that world, we must understand that the rules of this game have changed. They may not be able to chart their own path as they charted before, right? The money men who expect a quick ROI might be expecting some eyeballs to be open and some people to do some quick return. And as such, it makes Phil and team's job far more complicated, right? So there's a lot riding on it right now. So I'm just saying, we got to keep our eyes open, and all of that may lead to what you're seeing now, right? Yeah. They're streamlining their process. They're doing their best to take on the new role that they handle. Someone said this to me, what was it, a couple of days ago, and I thought it was super interesting. In hindsight, if you ask yourself, do you think that that when they had that opportunity to buy ABK, was it a good idea, or should they have just stopped and gone with their first choice, which would have probably been Sega? Now that we know what their ultimate form will eventually have to look like, because they borrowed daddy's, wallet. What do y'all think?
I don't know. Pong, Fudge, y'all want to?
No, I mean, I think that the ABK deal, again, high level here. And,
yeah.
And AK, you just, I love when you're on here because, you along with the rest of us take that high level and we can step back and kind of look at it. And I think high level stuff, ABK was too important for their future vision, right? That future vision that they have in mind, especially with the mobile side of things, strengthening the PC side of things. ABK was one of the ultimate puzzle pieces you could have gone out and gotten for what their plans are specifically. Now, not to say that Sega wouldn't be important, not to say that Sega certainly wouldn't help them in a lot of areas. Obviously, we know that, but ABK was that. I mean, it was the perfect time to have that be able to happen for exactly when they're sitting down at that table and they're saying, okay, where do we need to go next? What did we need to do? I think that's why they shelved everything else. That's why they put themselves, even if they didn't realize how bad it was going to be, they had to realize they were going to get scrutinized for sure.
Definitely.
They took that on because of the simple fact that ABK is just too important, because now it is an accelerant to everything that they wanted to do, because they are going to push hard on Apple and Google in the mobile space. And that's what I think a lot of these moves, restructuring, reorging, are, outside of the redundancy, outside of the stuff that we kind of expected to happen, some of these other things going on. They don't have time to wait around. Nobody else is going to pause while they get this huge corporation into their company, assimilated underneath Xbox and Microsoft and running smoothly. Nobody's waiting for them. That's right. Tech keeps moving, the market keeps moving, everything keeps doing. So they have to accelerate this whole process, and I think that's what some of these moves were. But no, I don't think, even knowing what we know now, even knowing that there could have been other opportunities along the way, even outside of Sega, had they moved on Sega, that they could have made other moves during that time.
Well, we do know they had a list too, Paul.
They had a list. Yeah. They had a shopping list, just like we did in Speculation Town, right? They did. But I just think that even looking back at that, for their vision, for their goals, where they want to be, where they see this industry going in the next, 2, 5, 10, 20 years, I think the ABK deal has to be made 100% of the time, no matter what.
Another thing too, Paul, it sets a precedence in tech. It's not just video games.
Yeah.
Remember what they were fighting here? FTC, CMA, they're fighting politics. It wasn't just video games.
No.
So, I mean, you set the precedence that, no, you guys can't cross over here and tell us what to do. It wasn't just, you know what I mean? Like, oh, well, this is just, we want to buy this company. It's that. That's absolutely their priority, Pong, and you're 100% correct. But it's also the precedence that, political versus this tech stuff and, trying to cross over. And obviously, you just saw Elizabeth Warren, tweet out some random stuff like she actually cares about anything. But
I don't think she knows anything. If they could have chosen when to do this, this was not the prime time with this administration to go ahead and try to pull this with the FTC and with Lena in charge and stuff. So you're absolutely correct that it was elevated due to a lot of different factors, PTK, for sure.
Paul, Fuzz, you want to get in on this?
Yeah, like, man, I think from like a bigger picture, much like Kay Asante and Pong said, ABK was that golden opportunity they couldn't pass up on. Had they not gone this route, it's hard to say where ABK would be today. I'm still a believer of it being a fire sale and possibly things being much, much worse, as far as probably not even taking this long to do layoffs. It would have probably been before the holiday, especially if the deal broke down in the summertime, where their stock would have taken a significant hit. And, Bobby being all about that dollar as opposed to the people that make that dollar kind of thing, they would have probably had, cuts somewhere upwards of 40%. I think they would have just had whatever is the key studios left that make the dollar or make the most income as far as their IP. So, the main hands on deck for Call of Duty, the main hands on deck for Diablo and WoW, and everything else can go out the door, except for with the mobile stuff that would probably remain untouched to some extent. But Microsoft, in the grand scheme of things, this was definitely the way to go. But I don't want to minimize the loss of people's employment or way of life and things like that. But it's you have to look at. And me being a shareholder of ABK and Microsoft at times, well, mainly still Microsoft now. My all the ABK stuff has been cashed out, but these companies have to cater to their shareholders. Their shareholders are investing in them to get a kickback on the back end. So if things are a little overweighted or there's overlap, it's a numbers game at that point. I mean, who's to say that they didn't go through their due diligence to say, okay, well, this guy was late 18 times versus this guy only taking 2 sick days kind of thing. Or this guy was caught up in the, some of the scandals and things like that we heard from before, um, under Bobby's watch, and they still have a job here. We can kind of correct this. We know that there's 2 or 3 things in their file that there were complaints. Do we really need this guy in comparison to somebody that we already have at one of our own established studios that can do the same task kind of thing? So it's hard to know exactly who was shown the door in comparison. I mean, some of the departments we know specifically, or some of those involved with certain games for the most part, but it's, it's definitely I wouldn't say a trip, but it's definitely a hard thing. Like even the company I'm retired from, like I've survived 2 series of layoffs, and September 11th, back in '01 and '08 when the recession hit. And I remember those meetings, and it wasn't fun sitting in those meetings and then kind of worrying, oh, am I going to be the one called in next kind of thing. I mean, luckily, I guess I could say I made the cut kind of deal, but it's just, it's sad to see, but it's kind of it's like a thing that happens in every industry. And I know this is our hobby, and I know we pay so much attention to it because of that, but nobody's having these types of conversations when any of the big automakers do this. Nobody's having these conversations when your local grocery stores are having a similar situation. Now it may not be on the same scale. They probably have a lot less employees in comparison, but when there's a 8% cut or 6% cut here and there, it still affects people in the long run. But nobody sits there and has podcasts, or is lambasting the companies when it's something outside the tech world. Where tech world, it is what it is. It's that revolving door. You constantly have people coming in, they complete a project, and some of them are pushed out, and then they go elsewhere, or they come back to that company, or they start their own company, and the process starts all over again. But in the bigger picture of things, I think Microsoft having ABK was the right way to go. I mean, it would have been nice to have Sega, but we would have seen the same thing with Sega. And I used to joke about it before. I really wish, well, I didn't wish, but had PlayStation got off their asses a long time ago, before the whole thing with Ubisoft kind of partnering with Microsoft for the streaming stuff. It would have made more sense for PlayStation to go ahead and acquire them, get that Tom Clancy license that would help them with doing like a SOCOM-esque type game, and they could give Assassin's Creed to Jade Raymond and a whole bunch of other things that just made sense for their roadmap to kind of compete on a level of ABK without having the dollars to do so. And they would have had to lay off quite a bit of people, because I think Ubisoft is sitting at, was it like at least 10,000? No, it's like 20,000 people.
Yeah,
so
it's a lot. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
Absolutely.
I didn't really mean to make it as a joke, but it's like Sony was the only one that could have probably gotten away with acquiring them, lay off 10,000 people the next day, and nobody say boo about it. I mean, Bungie just laid off a bunch of people not too long ago. Yeah, sure, they're ramping things back up.
Embracer been doing it for 4 months now, 5 months. Like every month, Embracer's shutting the studio down or laying a percentage of a studio off, or something along those lines. Unfortunately, yeah.
But Embracer is kind of like I wouldn't say a special case, but it's almost like the dream fell apart because they gambled on having that extra funding and whatnot and stuff. But
a $2 billion handshake.
Yeah, like you gotta get that stuff in writing, man. But they took a gamble, and they came up snake eyes kind of deal. But when it comes to something like Bungie, they they laid off people before they were vested, saving money, putting money back in their pocket, which, PlayStation overpaid them for that retention, but now they can, pocket that. Sure, they can ramp back up shortly after because now you're bringing in people at less of a, probably less of a salary because they don't have the seniority and you don't have to worry about the vestment. So that I would say there should be more news stories about stuff like that. Like that should be a focus because that's scummy to the nth degree. But it's business, right? But no, I've rambled enough. But yeah, Microsoft, I think, in the big picture, ABK was the prize that they had to go with. Like you can't pass that up. That's like having that lottery ticket in your hand kind of deal. They had to go for that, and we kind of all knew deep down. We all knew that there would lead to some layoffs, and if you look at the whole grand picture of how many people they've ramped up in hiring between the whole acquisition, the fact that it's only 1,900, I don't want to ever commend the company for laying off people, but it's like it could be as much as 7,000 because in a lot of cases that ramping up was kind of like over preparing for an area where you wouldn't necessarily have that need, that far into the future. But like I said, I ramble enough. I'm sorry.
No, it's a slippery slope, chat, and I want to make sure this is not a like 50-50 conversation. Everybody's perspective is going to always be a little bit different. People are a little bit more sensitive than others, and I think we've established, if you've jumped in, I think we've established that, layoffs stink. You know what I mean? We've all been affected in some way. We probably all know people that have been laid off, if not, each one of us individually. So like I said, we've established that baseline here, but we cannot, be ignorant either. I can't sit up here and act like I didn't know what was going on. We fine-tooth comb that case for 20 months. Like this was something that we talked about. We brought up multiple times on the show. And the best thing, like I said, we can do as a community is come together and try and help the people that were affected by this. And that's sending out information, sharing links, doing things that'll benefit these people, in real life. You know what I mean? Rather than arguing with people that aren't as mad as we are, unfortunately. So as you guys can see, we Mav slipped in the back door again. Appreciate you, Mav. What's up, brother?
What's up, man? We dooming and glooming? Was that what's
No,
going on
hell
today?
no. No.
Oh,
No. We
okay.
just
Good.
we just talking, man. Yeah, no, we don't do none of that around her. We don't do none of that. Shout out to chat too. You guys are freaking amazing. But Mav, you jumped in on this. I know you guys talked about this. Shout out to FSP. We got some FSP fam in the chat too already. But Mav, I mean, you've already gone over this a couple times already this week, but just where you at currently, on the layoff situation.
I mean, it's a crappy situation that was expected with a huge acquisition like this. I think also they incorporated other moves they had kind of been wanting to do when they're taking a look at their larger Microsoft gaming as an entire business now. Like with an acquisition like this, it's not just additive, it's a transformational thing, right? Like the acquiring a company like ABK completely transforms the entire Microsoft gaming division, including Xbox and everything underneath it. So yeah, they're going to take a high level look at everything and then try and do what they think is going to be best for the future of the ecosystem and the platform. 100% what they did. Now, is there a toll to be paid within that? Yeah, and that's a very unfortunate thing. And ultimately, you feel for everybody who's affected by those kind of
Absolutely.
things. But there's
Yeah.
not one media person, one journalist, one person that did not expect these things to happen. Right? It's happening beyond just the acquisitions as well. This would have happened despite an acquisition within ABK. There was going to be layoffs at ABK just like every other company that seems to be doing this thing out there, especially if this deal had fallen through. Oh, you would have been seeing a lot worse, right? Drastically. So ultimately, yeah, it sucks. Microsoft is in a good position going forward within the gaming space now. They're uh, a completely different company. What Xbox is, like Kay Asante was kind of saying, they're a pillar, right, of Microsoft. Now this is a different animal. It's a different beast. It's something that I think the community as a whole, and even at like we talked about this a couple weeks back, it's the community as a whole is just going to it's going to be an adjustment getting used to this new thing that exists. This is no longer, little darling Xbox is fighting against the industry to try and make a place for itself. This is including ABKs and MX Bethesda, everything else Xbox has. They are cemented as one of the biggest gaming publishers in existence, and they are also a platform holder as well. So this is something the industry's never seen before. So they do have somewhat of a different level of responsibility ultimately, and that's going to be up to, I think, Phil Spencer and people at
Yeah.
Microsoft to make sure they handle things properly going forward with a lot of the things they're going to do. But I think when we look at things, I just keep thinking about all the good things ahead, man. Like, there's been so much negativity this year. I mean, it started with the rumblings like, oh, they might put Hi-Fi Rush on the
Yeah. Third
Switch, and
party
and
stuff.
people freaking out about that nonstop for a few weeks. Then you see like other negativity going on in games within games media now, IGN crying about not getting codes and like just like all these different random things. So much negativity going on about the gaming business and industry. Meanwhile, we're getting some of the best games we've ever gotten before. Different genres are coming back in spades, full force with high production value and quality, and games are hitting. And I'm just excited more than anything about the future of what gaming has in store for all of us. And ABK being a part of Microsoft is a part of that. So I'm pumped, dude. Like
Yeah.
yeah, I feel for anybody that has been a part of the restructuring and kind of uh the high level look that Microsoft's now taking at things, and kind of reshaping what the whole Xbox gaming division is now. But this is going to, I think, lead to great things for all of us in the future when it comes to the games we're going to get, the games we're going to get in different services and all those kind of things. And if it doesn't turn out that way, then we can have a different conversation. But
Yeah.
right now, we see the roadmap, right? We see the roadmap. We see the pipeline of games. We know all these games in development. We have all these different things to talk about games coming and when are they going to release, and like who's making what and all this stuff. And like that's ultimately what I think about more than just all this negative stuff, man. And like I wish at times like the world as a whole and gamers in general as well also would just like lose some of that pessimism and that pessimistic attitude that negativity always outshines the positivity out there when it comes to things. And it's definitely hard when it comes to when you have news of layoffs and all those kind of things for sure, right? But this is stemmed before this. Like this is you had a lot of this talk going on and negativity about things for uh the entire month pretty much, right?
Yeah.
Ever since after the holidays. And I just so it's hard for me to understand what people want. And you can look at what's going on now with like Suicide Squad or like um Palworld, all these different examples of just people focusing on negative things and focusing on all of that stuff. And it's like, man, just like we are eating so freaking good right now as a gamers. And unfortunately, the business side is a part of it, and that's always going to be a part of it. And sometimes we don't like to see how the cake is made or whatever. Where we just want to eat it, But like this is all part of the process, and I think ultimately we're all going to benefit in the long run. So
Man, great breakdown. Great. And that leads me perfect segue into the next topic because like you said, man, we eating good. Like this year is arguably started better than last year. And I've argued that last year is probably the greatest year in video game history, in my opinion. That's just me. I know we all kind of took a vote last year, and a lot of people share that same opinion. And we've already, I think this year started off with Palworld and Tekken and all these other great games coming out, and then the showcase, the Dev Direct, and all the other stuff happening. Man, it's just been banger after banger, great game after great game. So I kind of want to get into kind of the future ABK. We touched on it, but I kind of want to turn the wheel on this, on the whole ABK thing, and tie that back in. And we'll start with you again, Asante, on this, brother. And so what's we've been thinking about ABK, and we haven't gotten really any information. Obviously, they're still doing a lot of back office stuff, right, Asante? I think we can all agree that there's a lot of HR stuff going on there. They got to clean a lot of things up. The ink is finally dry, but there's a lot still going on, right? Before we get to the video game
Indeed.
stuff, we got to clean up the
Indeed,
marketing,
yes.
the messaging. We got to get all
Yep.
that. Bobby just left. He been gone 3.5 weeks at this
Yep.
point,
And
right?
oh, by the way, the U.S. government is still nagging at their nipping at their heels. They're not going to make anything stick.
Yeah.
It's over at this point.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
still, they are they are an entity, and they're still nipping. So we got to be careful and make sure we're we calibrate our moves
Yeah.
accordingly and give them nothing they can use against us. Stuff like
Yeah.
that.
So saying that, right? Saying all of that, what is the next thing we're getting out of them? What's the next bit of information coming from ABK, from Xbox, Microsoft? If you were
Honestly,
running the ship.
So I honestly think the next thing you're going to see from Microsoft when it comes to ABK and all that will have to be some drip feed of content. You're going to start seeing the drip feed of content, and that'll come soon. Like between now and what do you call it? E3 time frame, we'll say, because the back end stuff that they're doing, they're definitely going to continue doing that. You're going to continue seeing personnel moving and shaking, changes here and there, right? But you're also going to see them streamlining their efforts in Game Pass, and the easiest W they can do is not even share anything new that they're sharing with you, but making the stuff that they have under lock and key available to Game Pass. So I think that, and they've already said that they learned the lesson of last time, the last time being ZeniMax, where they just dropped a whole bunch of stuff and many of it got lost in the sauce. I don't think you're going to see that. They're not dropping like a whole library's worth of stuff, 40 games on you in one day. You're not seeing that. But you're going to start seeing drip feed, onesie, twosies getting added to the mix. Maybe start a specific folder or a specific category within the Game Pass app, within the Game Pass PC app, where you start seeing it slowly grow, and they get hype building specifically around those titles and specifically around that part of the business. You won't see anything new and heavy hitting from that side for a while, right? Because they're, as you guys see, they're busy canceling things, they're streamlining things, but they do have something that they can hit easily and quickly whenever they bring that out, and that's reminding you of your favorite title that they used to have access to, that you can now play day one in Game Pass.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, no, I think that's a great point too. We talked about that a few weeks back, Chad, as well too, here on the show, about them using like these in between times. Because at that time, by the way, Asante, we didn't know what the roadmap looked like. This is pre-Dev Direct, so we didn't know where things fell, and we assumed that we're gonna get more early, which we did not. Coming out of Direct, we don't know. We don't have anything from now until the summer, right? So early summer.
Yep.
So now that we know that, things look a little bit different, you know what I mean, in that regard. But
Indeed, yep.
yeah, I'm gonna throw this over to you, Mav. Once again, we talked about this, brother. If you're running the ship over there at ABK, are you using that? Because Asante brought up a great point, right? I mean, I don't know if we're getting anything big, probably not any new IP stuff for a while, right? Like probably not anything new IP coming out of ABK for a little bit. Obviously there's Call of Duty this year, that's still coming around, but people talk about the Game Pass stuff and all the other old stuff that they have. Is that when you start doing that stuff now?
Yeah, I mean, I think in the next month or two, like ultimately you would kind of want to have some kind of a- announcement or acknowledgement of the direction, that's very forward community facing, like with ABK, kind of maybe whoever the new president is of Blizzard, and maybe some face from Activision, or maybe some of the studios. I don't think they, like, we were talking about this last night on Ultimate, and I don't think they do like a roundtable kind of thing, but I would like to maybe see some kind of, if it's like a blog post, maybe like an interview kind of deal, with people from Activision Blizzard and from the Xbox leadership, kind of just about the future of the platform, and including Activision Blizzard into it, and kind of what all of that means going forward. And then maybe as part of that, you do a couple of the Game Pass announcements about the library, talk about how we're excited now that because they're part of Xbox's ecosystem, we're able to include these games, and there'll be more coming in the future and stuff like that. I want to see marketing like really start to get behind a lot of the ABK stuff, right? we've already seen them kind of retweeting and mentioning some of the stuff, like even like the Diablo season 3 content, stuff like that. But I'd like to see that kind of more forward facing from the Xbox side too, because they gotta really establish to like the casual market as well, not just people that really pay attention, that those are a part of the Xbox ecosystem. So you have individual fan bases that are massive. Or you have the World of Warcraft fan base, you have the Diablo fan base, you have the Call of Duty fan base, you have all these different things. And I think you need to find a way to kind of cement home that, Xbox is a part of that brand identity to those different fan bases within those, because ultimately you want to establish like Game Pass, and you want to establish the benefits that those gamers that are part of those communities will receive for those brands being a part of the Xbox ecosystem. And then also the people that are just Xbox fans, you have a opportunity to really try and get them into some of those games as well by really pushing them. So I don't know exactly how they're going to go about it, but I think we're probably going to start to see some of that here in the next month or two, and kind of doubling down and really focusing on like, hey, this is why we did this. This is what's coming in the future. This is what we're doing now, and we're super excited for the future of the platform. And maybe as well, you kind of roll in some of the like teases about new projects or something like that that could be in the works at
That's
different
what
because
I
they
was thinking.
yeah, they did that before. It was ZeniMax
Yeah,
Bethesda, not like specifically tell us what they were, but they kind of hinted that ZeniMax Online is working on something big that would bigger than they've ever done before. They talk about Roundhouse has a game that they've been working on, things like that. Just kind of like give people a reason to and hype about the encouragement of these studios, even with all of this stuff that happened, are still going to continue to grow from here within the projects that they're working on. And that there is going to be kind of a resurgence of IP come out of ABK as well. That would be a great message to send. Because that's kind of what Phil always alluded to originally when he was talking about one of the reasons they wanted to go after ABK. And the thing he was excited about is visiting all the different teams and the studios and seeing like kind of what they want to work on, all those kind of things. So I want to see that. Now, I don't know how soon, like we were talking last night, because like you don't do it now, like today, right after these layoffs happen. That's not really the best timing. But I think within the next month or two, you can really come out there and
yeah.
kind of paint a strong message about the future. So, but we'll see how they do it. That's the question. Like, is it, blog post? Is it interview format? Is it that they have like people from Blizzard or Activision on like the Xbox podcast thing that they do with Tina Amini and stuff like that? It's there's going to be some of this kind of stuff, but I think they're still working out the kinks on what they
Yeah,
wanna
it's
do
early.
and how they wanna message it,
Yeah. It's really early, and I think that's the thing we need to establish as well too. It's still early, so we'll see how. And once again, it's a way better position. One of the best positions they've ever been at Xbox. You have a ton of content, you got a lot of flexibility, you can do a lot of different things. You got good problems for the most part, by and large, right? You don't have these glaring problems that you used to have that were just obvious problems that you didn't really have a solution to. You've kind of plugged those holes, right, Mav? I'd say for the most part. I mean, there's some things that they still need to get together. Obviously, messaging is subjective to the person, but messaging can be difficult still for Xbox specifically. But yeah, I think it's a way better position than like they've ever been in a very very long time. Mav, I
Yeah.
would I would agree.
Messaging from them is on a different level now than we've had before. Like, again, it's like it's a hard thing to grasp, because we've all seen Xbox like this certain kind of thing, and they added ZeniMax Bethesda, and it was more just adding to what they were, right? But expanding upon what their abilities and capabilities are. But now you add ABK, and it's like ABK was like one of the largest gaming publishers in the world, right? And if not the largest, I'm not sure, but you add that into the fold, and you're pretty much adding in something. And we talk about like puzzle pieces. This is like half of the puzzle, like so, like you're adding in something that is completely changing really the core of kind of what your business is in a lot of ways. And There's going to be some interesting things that come from that people will probably be like, oh, freak out about, and you already kind of see some of that going on this past month, right? But ultimately, it's just a new Xbox, and the messaging is going to be completely probably different going forward in a lot of ways within some of those kind of aspects. And it's something I think the community as a whole is going to have to adjust to, and because it's not it's not the same as it was before. You don't add maybe the largest gaming publisher in the world to your portfolio and expect that everything is going to be the same. It's just we added this content. You know what I mean? It's not like that. I don't think so. Um, the amount of money they have coming in from Candy Crush, from Call of Duty, from Diablo, from all these other damn things, right? Is just the how they present the next game and you know is not going to affect that, right? Like those things are solidified within this community and within the gaming industry as just being massive money makers, and that's Microsoft now. They have all that coming in as like cash cow. So like they're less, I'll say the impacts of the messaging from like to us Xbox core fans, it's less it has less of an impact on how they do. Does that make sense? Like with Candy Crush and Call of Duty and all these other things, like the impact of the messaging to people like us, it doesn't really affect all those things too much, right? Those things are going to be solid regardless. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do with all of those kind of going forward. I have ideas of what I would like. I talked about what I think they should do and what would be good ideas. But overall, like they're not this little darling anymore that a lot of us want to root for and stuff like that. They are a top dog in the industry, and little decisions they make that we can pick apart and kind of say, "Oh, I didn't like this," or like, "Oh, they made a mistake doing this or that." It it just isn't going to have as big of an impact as it did in the past. Not for them. Like they're cemented. They have that moat. They
Yeah.
have built up this massive ecosystem, and they are going to be fine, right? Regardless if we think they made little mistakes or not here and there, you know. So it's gonna be interesting with the conversations going forward, messaging and all this kind of stuff. Like their responsibility is so much bigger now than just the Xbox console core player. You know, it's just gonna be different.
Yeah. No, 100%. 100% agree with you. And Pong, my brother, this is something that we've harped on, we've talked about, we've tried to project this, ABK stuff out. What is this going to look like? What's the roadmap going to be, Pong? How's it all going to lay out? Who's going to be in charge of what? Who's going to be making the decisions, right? So we've all tried to map this out. We've done it many times on the podcast since the day the deal was announced, right? So this kind of, at this current point in time, what's the next move if you're running this?
If I'm running the ship, I am focused on making. Well, I guess which side are we coming from? If I was running the ship at Xbox, like if I was Phil,
Yeah.
and yeah, if I was Phil, and I'm focused on making sure that it is absolutely 100% clear that ABK is now a part of Xbox, and I think that they've already started doing that. Again, Phil showing up on the BlizzCon stage, that kind of stuff. As far as going forward, first steps are the back catalog. That is obviously a big deal. If you're going to feed your gamers, if you're going to feed your core audience, you've got to let them know how this rollout is going to look and what they can expect as far as those games dropping in, and in fact what they should not expect with some of the licensed IPs that are in the back catalog. Let us know what's not going to be available, right? Because there's a lot of people with a lot of wish lists, right? Transformers, right? Wolverine, games like that, Marvel Ultimate Alliance. You got to let everybody know up front and be clear about it, right? You got to be clear about it. Let's not have any questions about what's coming, what's not coming. Let's just do that. And then I think that obviously, the biggest next move is who you're going to put in charge over there now that Mike Ybarra is leaving. And that announcement comes next week. But that is going to it's fascinating to me because is it internal from Blizzard? Activision or is it from Xbox? I'm currently leaning that it is Xbox because of the points I made previously about time waits for no man, and they need to move forward. And if they're going to launch this mobile side of things in the next few months, if they're going to launch a mobile store, I don't think that I think that they need to put somebody there who will instantly bring the philosophy from Microsoft and Xbox over to that team to let everybody know. That's why I thought Ybarra could be valuable, because he understands both sides. But now that he's gone, I think you got to push in with the Xbox side of things and just let everybody know that this is what we're doing. We're reorging everything over here. The strategy is this moving forward. Here's our focus. This is the IP that we are focused on. They've already hinted through the quotes that there are new exciting projects in the works over at Blizzard. StarCraft, anybody? That kind of stuff, I think that needs to be concrete going forward. And then, everybody's brought up great points, right? You do have to speak to the fan base. To Mav's point, they're so much bigger now than they were just a couple years ago. They've almost tripled in size. Xbox, I'm talking about, with this ABK deal. That, sure, I absolutely agree with Mav that they've got a lot of eggs in a lot of different places. And so there isn't going to be necessarily the focus on the console base, on that core gamer base anymore. And I know that's hard to hear for a ton of people. And yes, they need to still speak to them, though. And they still need to make sure they are very clear about where they are going. And again, they can't give away secrets. There's always going to be corporate speak. There's always going to be double speak involved. There's always going to be moments where a quote from Phil or Booty or Sarah or whoever is going to be brought back up after a year or two and like, well, you said this back then. Yeah, it might have been that way back then, but things are changed. But you got to let everybody know where they're going. You've got to make sure. Listen, other places don't have to do this. We always talk about this. So what I'm about to say is going to be like, well, Xbox has to do something different than everybody else. But because of the position they're in, because of what Mav and Kay Asante have already talked about with this ABK deal and what it means and how they're one of the world's largest publishers now in a lot of different areas, Xbox does have to it has to instill confidence in their fan base. Okay. They have to instill confidence that despite the fact that they are cooking up a lot of different foods right now, that they still, and Phil's spoken about this, don't get me wrong, Phil's mentioned this multiple times in interviews, but they've got to make clear that the enthusiast, that the core gamer is not being left behind in any way, shape, or form in all of this. In fact, the core gamer can expect bigger and better things from this. And all of us here in the community, in the chat, we all can sit there and say, yeah, we know that's coming. I mean, obviously, we've been following Xbox. We know what's cooking. We know they got a lot of things cooking. But you do have to show it, and you do have to continue to reinforce the idea. Otherwise, we've seen the community doom and gloom over really little things, right? And things that in the bigger picture aren't worthy of doom and gloom. We've seen doom and gloom. Why is that? Because whether or not people want to admit it, sometimes there is a lot of lack of confidence. Okay. There's sometimes it is very confusing, and I'm not speaking for myself here at all. I'm just saying that's why that pops up a lot in the community is because it's very difficult to understand sometimes how a company like this is moving. And we're not supposed to understand everything, but the facts are you can show some things to your core gaming group that has been with you through the ups and downs that know this is actually happening. We are going to bring you amazing things coming from this. You got to let us get through this restructure, get us through ABK coming in like this, but you are not forgotten. We are going to bring you the goods that you all thought you were going to get when we started making these acquisitions. That's still happening, folks. We're not abandoning you guys. We're not going full PC and mobile. We're not doing any of that nonsense. You guys are still one of our main courses here. And I think that could be a big key with the ABK deal going through. I would be out there in front of that. I would definitely be showing off some new stuff when I could. This showcase coming up very important. They're already prepping for it now, as we know. End of January, beginning of February is when they start planning the showcase. Come with the big guns. Come with the surprises. They did last year. It was a freaking amazing show. But come with the big guns. Show what ABK's got. If you're going to drop Call of Duty this year in Game Pass, have that lined up. If you're going to drop Diablo in, have that lined up. But bring the big guns. Show the gaming community that the core gamer is still vital to your plans, even if you got all this other stuff that you're working on. And I think that they can certainly do that. So I would be highly focused on backwards compatibility, highly focused on who I'm putting into position over there and what that's going to mean going forward to get everything structured, organized, and ready to rock and roll for all of our big plans in the mobile, into PC, everything. And then next, I would be talking to the core gamers. Again, because Xbox is so forward facing with the consumer, they've set that expectation. Again, I know it's different for other companies. Don't get me wrong. I understand that. But the fact is they put themselves in this position on purpose. Phil wanted it this way. So you got to continue it. And I think I would be out front talking to the core gaming community, letting them know the direct was a fantastic way to do that. Continue that stuff. Make sure you got it all set up and lined up for everybody.
Yeah, no, absolutely, 100%. You know, and Chad said it too. Fuzz, Pong always touching on all the little nuances and different conversations, and getting in that bag. I love that talk. I love that talk, Pong. When you get into that zone. No, but Fuzz, man, we got to throw this over to you too, bro, to get your bars off here. But once again, it's something we've been talking about, and there's a lot of nuances as Pong and it's Mav has highlighted as well as K Asante too. Regarding ABK in a relationship and what is this going to look like going forward for Xbox. So if you're running the ship, if they gave you the captain's chair, what's your first, what are you kind of doing right now?
On a lighthearted note, I am revisiting the Crash Bandicoot costume advertising. Working on a campaign to kind of throw some of the shade back at Sony. Like, I know they're supposed to be this focus on being bigger and better with Apple and all this stuff, but I'm bringing Crash Bandicoot back, and I'm having them out there with the bullhorn, calling Sony out like, "Where's the games?" or whatever the case kind of.
Hey, Sony kind of did it with
Sony. Pong, he's taking your bit.
He's not taking my bit. This is good shit right here because Sony kind of did it with that hype trailer that they made with the song they chose. Come take it. Remember they like that.
Oh yeah.
Hey, listen.
He's on to something, Pong? Is he cooking?
If we're gonna go back to the Sega Nintendo days, if we're gonna go back to the Peter Moore days, let's go. Let's do it up. I'm all on board. Let's go, Fuzz. Let's go. Let's rock.
Yeah, we got to bring Crash Bandicoot back. We got to have him outside the PlayStation headquarters, making announcements, poking fun at him and stuff. But at the same time, unify the mobile app that you currently have, because it looks like the cracks are in the armor over at iOS or Apple right now, because the EU is kind of forcing them, and they're letting these streaming services in, and I know there's some nuance there as far as like the fees and stuff like that, because Spotify isn't happy about it, and a few others aren't happy about it. But go ahead and have that app ready while you're still putting your mobile store together that hopefully can still be side loaded. Hopefully they don't come to some sort of compromise before they can get that whole side load deal going. This might be a bit of an extreme as well. Go ahead and, just like they did with Edge being basically, Chrome OS or Chrome browser with a wrapper to it, go ahead and do an Android wrapper for a phone. Don't do this split screen Surface phone. I mean, it's great for, the techies that like that type of stuff. But if you want to go mass market, come up with like a $400 to $600 phone that's on the same level as like a Pixel. And do your Windows wrapper or Xbox mini app skin that they've been kind of working in the background for PC and stuff like that can help on these handhelds and stuff. Like they really need to focus on that. I mean, it looks like they have a lot of the game stuff kind of taken care of. I mean, Matt Booty's doing a bang up job. Whether he's axing people or making sure games are on track and stuff like that.
It's not axing, Fuzzy. It's talking to people about their futures.
Oh yeah, like
good Lord,
we were joking about it last night, but the more I think about it, I think he is that kind of guy. Like, forget about it. It's like, oh, you won the
There will be
stream.
no disrespect of Peaches, ladies and gentlemen. No
Oh, my
disrespect of
goodness.
Peaches.
Oh no,
Hey,
we're
be
giving him a
respectful.
whole lot of credit here, sir. We're giving you a
Yeah.
whole lot of credit.
Oh, is that
Stone
right?
Cold Killer.
Nobody told somebody to stream PlayStation games on Twitch instead of on Mixer and stream Xbox games on Mixer. No, he had to go ahead and do something shady behind, Xbox's back before he bounced. So, that stuff gets remembered. No, an elephant never forgets. So, however you look at it, but no, I think the mobile space definitely focus on an Android wrapper as far as for like your Windows or Xbox iOS or OS type of thing for the phone that hopefully will transfer well for a handheld, whether it's a ROG Ally or a Legion, or even, to overwrite what Steam has on the Steam Deck, because it doesn't look like they're too anxious to put like a full on, Game Pass app. I mean, we have that workaround with the Edge thing that you can do as an install, but try to get this as simplified as possible on phones and portable devices and even laptops for that matter. Bring back your more of your cutthroat, not really cutthroat, but bring back advertising that's going to get those views. It's going to help win that mind share. And if it ruffles some feathers in the gaming media, so be it. Hey, I honestly think what WB is doing with not giving certain codes to those that are going to do the dog pile, I think they need to take their lessons from that and start doing the same, because you can't win either way. If you give them the codes and they crap on your game, it's going to do bad. If you don't give them the codes, they're going to cry foul. And either way you look at it, let the gamers decide. Let the the streamers that are going to have early access to it. I mean, as long as you've made sure that game is polished out the gate, I think gamers will see more so than having these preconceived notions from what the big gaming media wants to tell us they feel about a game. It won't have as much impact or influence at that point, and then people can decide for themselves, much like they did with Hi-Fi Rush. They didn't have that incubation time for the media to say, well, this is great for Xbox, but it would be better on like the Switch or on PlayStation, because they would have ran with that narrative like, this is unlike Xbox, this should be on everything, and that would have been the bigger push as opposed to just buy an Xbox to play that game. And maybe have Crash make that tagline, just buy an Xbox, and it's going to ruffle some feathers. But the people's feathers that it's going to ruffle the most are the ones that probably aren't going to buy your hardware anyway. So go with it. Your focus is the casuals now. Now don't lose sight, like Pong said. Don't lose sight of the enthusiasts that build or help build your brand, but focus on the casuals. You got the king of all casual games now with Call of Duty. Use that to the fullest. If it means you're making 3 different Call of Duty wraps for the Series S and the Series X, and maybe a portable or something like that, do that. But I think the big thing moving forward is use your advantages that you now have with ABK. Lean into it as much as you can. Uh, it would be nice to have some of the focus of putting WoW on console, but if that's too much of an undertaking, more so than doing like a StarCraft or something like that, that you can build from day one to build on console, I would say hold off on WoW for that. But at the same time, just keep on kind of pushing what they're pushing. But I want to see the marketing take a more of a 80s 90s change, like the way Sega used to do things, and just use that Crash mascot for what it's worth. Line up whatever you need to do as far as stuff that they a publisher in the East that they want to push for. I say strike on that sooner rather than later, although now is not the best time from optic standpoint. But I would say, if anything, by like the summer showcase, maybe that's the time you make an announcement of what the next publisher that you're looking to acquire. Because I think by that point, with all the games coming out, people will have moved on from that notion as far as what happened just recently with the the layoffs and such. I think people will have focused now more so on like, oh, well, what's the PlayStation showcase going to be like, if they even have a showcase, or what's going to be the answer if the PS5 Pro, if there is a PS5 Pro kind of deal. I think that's the time you do hey, welcome Sega to the family, or we have the intent to purchase Sega or Square Enix or whichever they choose to do out there. But yeah, I say just lean forward into marketing old school style. You got to get the casuals mind share. That's going to be your new golden goose to shoot for, and get all of the back compat stuff in Game Pass. Maybe even talk about family Game Pass, but I think that's more of like a third party negotiations thing, which I don't know how they're willing to give up certain percentages for that. But if they have to, I'd say make that happen. But that's the moves moving forward. Get that casual market on your side, buying your console, or using your app on their phone or their tablet or their handheld portable PC or laptop or whatever, and just keep on pushing.
Awesome. Awesome. And once again, I think this just highlights what we've all talked about here, that they are in a phenomenal position, the best position I think that they've almost ever been in, probably since, early 360 generation, right? Where they had some wiggle room and they were being super creative and things were still new and everybody was, hype about the system. So like you said, they're in a great position. They got a lot of content. There's a lot of room here. It's weird too. In a year where we might get a refresh and a new Switch, right? Doesn't that kind of change the dynamic of like what happens, right? Wouldn't you say, Asante? Like things like that, we don't get a new Switch every year, right? We don't. That's once every decade, right? Or 8 7 8 years.
Absolutely.
So that
Absolutely,
changes
yeah.
what happens this year too, because that kind of that changes. That's a market disruptor, right?
And to that point about the market disruptor part, I've been saying this for a little bit, and I think shout out to Hargeet Chani, he's been saying it as well. Keep an eye on that space, because for a long time Nintendo has just been off doing their own thing, and not to say they won't be, they will continue to be Nintendo. Don't get it twisted, but if all the rumors are to be believed, and more the meat on the bone is starting to look like it is, they're going to actually have a piece of hardware that can perform. This will not be one of those. I will no longer be able to successfully give it the moniker of the abacus anymore, because this thing will be a performer. You know what I mean? It'll actually perform. Doesn't mean you're getting Breath of the Wild, The Last of Us anytime soon from Nintendo, but what this means is it can compete and it can stay relevant in the third party and in the indie race where it's been falling behind, right? And what that will do is, for now, it's always been a 2-horse race, right? Because people have been spending, you've heard that they basically invented the idea of the impossible port because of Nintendo Switch, right? What if they now have devices that don't require an impossible port? Right. And we already know how much effort the developers themselves put into Nintendo Switch games. That's why impossible ports exist. You haven't heard of impossible ports on Nintendo, on PlayStation side, or even Xbox, right? If it's not that good, or if it's not that great, it's just not that great. It doesn't seem like anyone spends as much time and as much effort as they do, unless they're talking about a Nintendo platform. So imagine when they have a piece of hardware that actually can compete. Right. I honestly think that may really, really spell some odd times for PlayStation, because Xbox, we already know their roadmap. We already see what they're planning on doing. Combine their first party with all the Game Pass things that they're doing, they'll be fine. Right. We already know what Nintendo's doing. They have a bunch of games now that most likely will come out because they have a new piece of hardware coming out, which is a big deal. Like you say, it's something that doesn't happen for like 10 years or whatever sometimes. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Right. So imagine that world where they're all, both sides are moving and shaking. What will that look like on PlayStation? I'm looking forward to seeing how they answer that question.
Oh yeah, it's extreme, and it's funny that we're talking about Nintendo, because that's a great segue into another topic that I kind of want to go over.
Can I ask? Yeah, can I ask Kay something real quick? Just real quick, Kay. Fuzzy brought it up. What are the odds that Xbox or that Microsoft comes back with a new phone, since Satya said it's one of his biggest regrets? What do you think, if they get their own store, if they start pushing in that space, is it too far gone?
Fuzzy, Fuzzy likes to drop these nuggets and let you think that he's just dropping nuggets. Man. The man knows what the hell he's talking about. Let us not get it twisted. He is clairvoyant in that way, and he is about his technology. So don't get it twisted. Now, I will. Why I say that is because Microsoft is already a few steps ahead in that regard, right? With the two-tone, two screen device that was garbage, right? As he just pointed to, also came a proper skinning of Android. Right. So with that launcher, which came native on that hardware, but since that hardware has been kind of tossed in the bushes, they still have the launcher available. You can download that launcher, put it on any Android device, and it'll load Edge. It'll have Word. It'll have all your standard fare, including preloading Game Pass and all of that. All your standard fare Xbox, Microsoft centric applications and fare. Right. So much so that there is talk that all they need to do is button it up, talk to some kind of a manufacturer, and then release the Microsoft phone. Right. The Android background, but the skin, basically like a Galaxy phone, which has the Samsung skin on it, but this would have a Microsoft skin on it. Right. And Fuzzy, I think we need to put a pin in that one because that is the world we're going to find ourselves. As soon as they are now, because as you guys know, we're hearing all the moving and shaking about Apple's reins being forcibly removed. As soon as we see that whole situation shake out and they can now unify their app stores, you're going to see a store on every platform, including an Android one. And in that Android world, they don't want the tyranny of the default to kill them. For those who aren't aware, tyranny of the default, the idea that something that is so ubiquitous, meaning Android and iOS and Windows, and the first thing that you see on there is the first thing you use. That's the reason why Edge is successful, because it's the first thing you see on there. It actually requires effort to install Chrome, right? And that default is a coveted position, right? So right now the default is Android, is the Play Store. So imagine a phone comes out that is backed by Microsoft, the Xbox phone or the Microsoft phone, and that skin defaults to their app store
with Copilot.
That's what they're going for, with Copilot and everything. Exactly. Right. That is the world they want to live in. That's the world they want to live in, both on Android side and on iOS's side. Right. They want to be able to put you in their own world, even if you're on their platform. And now it looks like all of this is opening up to allow them to do so. So yes, that Xbox phone, put a pin in it. It's not long for the world. I suspect we might see something in that area soon enough.
That'd be cool.
Candy Crush will be pre-installed. Let's go.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. You're damn right it will be.
Oh, yeah. That's a damn good point, right? See, tying everything all back in. See how that works? But
including that Call of Duty mobile game that had 50 million pre subscribers. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Not bad. Fuzz, look, man, you may be on, Fuzz and them tea leaves, you never know, but Fuzz, you were just playing, but you might be onto something, brother. Sound like you got Kay Asante sold.
Hey, it's what I would like to see. Just as someone that went from iOS to Android, and it wasn't like a kicking and screaming thing. It was like iOS just wasn't what it used to be. And when they did the whole eyebrow on the iPhone 10, I was like, I'm out. And then Google started messing with Android where they wanted to make it look like iOS with the clock. And then that pissed me off. So it's like, I want other options. Like, I'm tired of both of those sides, even though, the Android overall has been a much better or more predictable layout. But if it's a Windows wrapper, which I kind of made my phone into that now, it has Windows backgrounds, it has a lot of Windows apps and icons and things like that. But if something comes like that from the factory and it's on par with like a Google phone or like a Pixel phone, yeah, I'm sold. Yeah, and that's
I want the Windows tiles back on my phone. Yeah. I would take a Windows phone again, man. I would. I
really
love it, man.
I was thinking about that. Okay, so we got to get into this since we brought it up. We going down the rabbit hole now.
Kay Asante's rubbing his hands together now. Here we go. Let's go.
Man, right?
All right, let's go.
So who wants a? Are you so? What's the demand for realistically for a Windows Phone? Do we agree that there's a? That's what I'm saying. Like, so
Right.
what is the what? So what are the odds that they even put the resources behind something like this?
Yeah.
So here's the problem. Okay,
Yeah.
Microsoft has the problem, and hear me here. The problem of clairvoyance. They always put the cart before the horse.
Right.
They gave Cortana a voice before they gave her a brain. Right? Why the hell would you release Cortana and then retire her before you release AI that gives her a brain? They always put the cart before the horse. Windows Phone was the perfect operating system that had no support, right? Yeah. And they had no clout to get support. And at that time, do you know what did Windows Phone in? YouTube. They used to play with them like the freaking little play toys. Ooh, we have an app for you. Well, we'll break it now, and now you have to make it again, to the point where Microsoft would make their own YouTube app. And then Google would change back-end code that doesn't do anything except break Microsoft's ability to make the app work, right? That's what they used to do. It was this back and forth. And they had no ability to change that because they had no clout in the game. They had no skin in the game. Now imagine if they had an operating system now that they command millions of Game Pass subscribers, now that they have a potential for an app store that would have substance both in mobile and as far as their first party offerings now with ABK and everything else. Now you can't clown on them anymore. Now all of a sudden they have a beachhead to establish themselves. And oh, by the way, they've spent a lot of time on Android applying their bit of magic to Android as well. So it's not just a skin anymore. They're actually doing something proper. Yeah. They put the cart before the horse in that whole game, right? At that point, they wanted to establish their own platform. Windows could have been that platform. It didn't work out for them, sure. But now they can reestablish that platform. It'll still run Android. It'll be like Samsung, the same Samsung thing. Without Google, Samsung got no beachhead. It is what it is, right? But they can make a good enough case with their own app store, with their own offerings that people seek out now, and they can actually establish themselves. I think that's something that I would be there for. Absolutely.
Oh man, it's such a tough market. You know what I mean? Like it's so hard. Like even with and like you're 100% correct. They do have some advantages at this point in time. Even now that they're beefed up, they have they have longer arms, far longer arms than they had before. You got ABK, you have the AI, you got that all worked out now. You got ties there. You got Azure popping off, the clouds popping off, second biggest in the world. That's all going well. So you have the facilities now to support something like that and create a beachhead. But okay, so I'm gonna ask chat real quick, and then we'll jump back into this. And I want to hear your opinion, Mav, on this. But chat, are you yes or no on a Windows Phone? Just yes or no in chat. So Mav, are you in on this idea that this could happen? Are you in on a Windows Phone, possibly in the format that Pong went over as well as Asante went over? Just as long as they do it that way.
I want more options. So yes, let's go. bring it
okay,
out.
Well,
let's get it. I want to go to the store, buy a phone, and have all that crap already there for me. You get Game Pass right there. You get Candy Crush. You get the little Diablo mobile game that they have. I want all that stuff already right there for me. And so I can say F you to Apple, I can say F you to Android, and then I want to force our entire company and everybody to start using Microsoft stuff instead of Apple. Because I have been forced into using Apple for so long, and I absolutely hate it.
Preach, good sir. Preach.
Man, wow. Don't let the Apple overlords hear you, Asante.
It's convenient. It sure is convenient unless I'm not working, and then it sucks ass because you can't do anything else you want to do on it. So I want Microsoft to come on board, give us a phone, have really cool stuff on it, make it look like a little Xbox in my hand. I don't care. Just make it cool and make it awesome. And I want it. I'll eat it up, dude. I will be so in on that. But they got to do it. Like if they do it the right way now, like you're talking Asante with all that, like it would be so much better because they really part of the problem before was the Xbox. Not the Xbox, the mobile store that they had on the old Windows phones just sucked, right? Like there was just not
no
like it didn't
support at
have,
all.
yeah, it didn't have everything people
Yeah.
wanted. So like now,
Yep.
you know, if you do it that way, like you said, like, yeah, everything will be there, but you get all your cool defaults that us like Microsoft junkies all love, right? So it'll be great. Copilot, have them live my life halfway for me, do everything. Like I'll just be creating like AI images everywhere I go, and like having it already know what I want to eat and order us food already, and have coffee ready for me at Starbucks before I even get there. Like
we're one
Hey,
step
man.
closer to
man.
Wally
Let's
at
go.
this point.
Look,
Like,
look, you guys laugh, but you know,
Yes.
a
Yes.
pixel will make reservations for you,
Yes.
and he is all robot, and you will not even be a part of that conversation.
Let's go.
You want to go there, you tell the pixel, it makes a reservation for you.
Right.
I'll have it finish my games for me because I can't
Oh,
seem to do
geez.
that.
Sacrilege.
Dude,
Oh,
I'll
no.
automatically
We
go
farming-
rack up achievements.
We
do my
cheat.
Microsoft
Farming
rewards
achievements
and
now, huh?
everything. Let's just go all in. AI world, man.
There
Matt
you
wants
go.
it so he fires up Diablo 4 and his character's at max level already.
I gained 20 levels already. I'm good to go, man. Like Uber Lilith has got nothing on Copilot.
I can't be down with that. When did they package when they did the phone, but they packaged it with those Wiimote like devices that we know that they have been working on.
Yeah, man.
You know what I'm saying?
Oh, I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
With
Okay,
two
okay.
like
Yeah.
dumbass nunchuck things
Yep,
in our hands
yeah.
all the time, and that's what
Yeah, just package it in.
Yeah.
Yes,
We can't
let's go.
we can't ever grab anything else in reality. We always just have these things in our hands. It's just like I can't eat because I'm holding this, but it's okay.
Terrible.
Let's live that life.
I know, man.
So you know, Wally.
No, you're good. You're good.
You know the movie Wally?
Yeah.
Of course.
Of
Yeah,
course,
we live in
yeah.
these like floating chairs. We're all just big blobs of goo, and like everything is done for us.
No.
Doesn't sound half bad, honestly. I'm all for it, man. It's
Lord.
it's like it can take me.
And we've all turned to pudgy necklace, big blobs of meat.
Dude, okay, Asante, I'm halfway there already. I'm just waiting for the technology to catch up with me, man.
Oh, my God.
Matt's over here asking for that. I'm asking for Her, the movie Her, Joaquin Phoenix. I just want that. So add Copilot with the Cortana voice, and we're already a good way there. Then let her access everything I own and reorganize my life for me. That would be simply fantastic. Yes, absolutely. I just want an earpiece in my ear, and she could talk to me. That's it.
You just want to have a non-consensual, inappropriate relationship with an AI.
Sure.
Come on.
Why not? Why not? We're all headed there anyways. Unleash it. I'm sick of them having, these fences up around AI. Unleash it. Let's see what the fuck happens. Screw it.
So
we're already on our way.
You want like Blade Runner 20
Yes.
you want
Absolutely.
that one. Like,
Fantastic.
God.
Fantastic. Let's go.
Yeah.
Jesus
Let's
Christ.
go.
Show me
You
your
want Minority
physical
Report,
form.
huh? Pong?
Yeah, let's do that. Let's just go all out. Let's see where society goes.
Full on neural links, right?
Forget it. Yeah.
Forget it, right? Just
Let's
tap
do
in
it. Yep.
to the story.
Yep.
No, but I mean, so the Windows Phone idea. Let's get back to we were full Jetsons there for a minute, but yeah, the Windows Phone idea. It's intriguing because I mean I think they could garner some interest, like genuine interest. I think some people like would only take interest, right? Because it's kind of a novelty at this point. People make fun of the Windows Phone, the old ones, and the tiles and things like that. So I think even all essentially press is good press, even if it's bad, right? All eyeballs are good. So I mean, how realistic could they get, like as far as traction? You think they could really build something? Like anybody?
I mean, honestly, like all the signs are there, all the breadcrumbs are there. They spent time actually making Android work with Windows as good as iOS works with Mac, right? That whole idea that you see people sell at the idea that your text messages just flow to your Mac when you sit down at your Mac. That happens with Windows and Android now. All those seamless back and forth features just happen with Windows and Mac and Android now, right? They've built an app that specifically does that. In Windows 11, it's really, really well integrated at this point. All they need to do is solidify it and bring it all together in one device. Right now, they don't have an app store yet. I feel that's their final piece. Once they have that final piece, because they have a browser, right? That's super useful that people use on Edge. They even use it today. They have an AI companion that basically can challenge anybody else's AI companion right now with Copilot. They have all of the pieces of the puzzle. They have it all there, right? All they need now is their own app store. And when they have their own app store, you will definitely see this phone. Now, it may be see this phone in conjunction with LG, see this phone in conjunction with a Samsung handset or something like that. But those OS pieces are there right now. You could build it yourself right now. They're going to put it together once they have the app store.
Would you prefer that it's done in-house, or are you okay with them, LG, Samsung, kind of third party? They do the hardware part.
I like when they do the hardware part. I don't know how much they will spin up their hardware efforts to compete in this realm as they used to in the past, a la Nokia and all of that, right? I don't know how far in that direction they will ultimately go, but I believe that in the world we live today, the handsets are not as I wouldn't say not as important. They can be complemented better with proper software. I mean, look at the new Galaxy S21 Ultra that's out there right now, right? It is a great handset. It's got all at this point, the greatest handset you can the best thing you can say about a good handset is it's edge to edge glass and it's all screen. It's got 12 gigs of RAM. I mean, they're throwing the wall at these things at this point. And all of it is nothing but AI. It can do this for you, it can do that for you. And all of that is what Microsoft already has, right? So I genuinely think that it could be through a partner. I think it could be through the Surface brand, Surface phone, right? It could be through a partner, it could be by themselves, but I'm all but sure that as soon as they have this storefront together, you're going to start seeing these phones in addition to other branded devices. Heck, Windows-based handheld ROG Ally competitor like devices, all of them will be in play once they have this app store, solidified.
So that's the final piece of the puzzle, essentially. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. I like that idea. I don't know. I like that idea, man. I haven't heavily even considered that, to be honest with you. Now putting all the pieces together, and this is why I love having you on, Asante, and I love the fact that Fuzz brought this up, is that now got my wheels kind of spinning. I hadn't considered this because I was a fan of the Windows phones as well too back then. So actually I wanted to buy them a bunch of times. Obviously, I was locked into an ecosystem at that point too, but they were always really cool to me as well too. So I think it's something. Is that like the last frontier for them? Would you say?
Oh yeah, I would absolutely say that, and it's not necessarily like they want to go back to the phone. They just know that the phone is now the new frontier for computing. Right? They won the desktop, but now there are more phones running and computing every day than they do on a handheld. The idea that a phone is a computer used to be alien in a few years ago. Now a lot of people look at our kids. All they do is compute on tablets and phones. That's all they do. Right. So they need to solidify themselves if in the future they're going to continue to be the operating system. Otherwise, Windows dies off with us because our kids ain't using Windows. They're using iOS. They're using Chrome OS. Right. They're using nothing but mobile platforms. So they need to establish themselves there too.
Good point. Okay.
That conversation really gets interesting when you flip it and you look at the way the future technology is going and all that kind of stuff, and you think about where PlayStation would sit within that, because they don't have like their own storefront either, like for mobile or for like even a PC right now. You know what I mean? So like in a time when consoles are not really needed anymore, like I don't know, are they going to rely on just Apple storefronts and stuff like that? I you know what I mean? Like how do they compete in that default launcher world? You know what I mean? It's
I mean,
the long time away.
They had their phones,
but
they had their phones.
I mean, they did have the phones. Yeah, they had those.
Yes, they do. Yeah, they have an Android beachhead. They're just not very good at it right now.
Correct.
They're kind of just on the side doing their thing. They too have not kind of put their puzzle pieces together. It's funny. They have been in the Android mobile game for a long time. They used to have games that were on Android that were like their PlayStation IPs way before anybody knew it was sexy. They had streaming services that came default installable on their TVs way before it was a thing, right? They too, PlayStation has sometimes the problem of clairvoyance. They see where the puck is going to go. They just don't know how to get there in time.
Yeah, it's interesting because the storefront kind of is the key to that whole aspect, right? Of making it really work for them. And like Samsung has a storefront, you know what I mean? If you buy a Samsung phone, but nobody uses it, you know what I mean? So it's interesting competition out there in that space. So it's gonna be.
They got to be creative. PlayStation has to be creative, right? This is a pretty precarious position. We've never seen PlayStation, in this kind of position, right? Where they're not dictating where the market's going. You know what I mean? And it's interesting to see them kind of figure out what they're going to do. The one thing, obviously, the brand thing that they, that's the glue that holds everything together, right? Their brand loyalty and their strength and the fact that, people feel the way they do feel about the brand, kind of gives them. That's something that you can't really buy, Asante, right? I think that's harder to get than anything else, right? That's harder to establish than even a beachhead in a particular like part of gaming or part of tech. Is that the loyalty? You can't buy that. That takes time and years, and they have that, which allows them time sometimes to get things right. But when things are moving fast, though, Asante, right? So.
Well, and you know what? On the loyalty point, it's really interesting that these days, if you look around, even in entertainment, you're seeing people playing with that, right? People are dropping. Look what happens. Facebook drops Oculus in favor of Meta. You built such a brand with the name Oculus, which everyone trusted, and instead you throw that away in favor of Meta, right? HBO, super known brand, right? You know where I'm going, right? They keep playing with these things, thinking that, oh well, it's just a name. We're moving and shaking. We're gonna establish a new beachhead where the name doesn't matter as much, and we're gonna establish a new trust in this name, and it doesn't necessarily work for them. Right, so it will be interesting. I've heard a lot of talk about if Xbox ever goes multi-plat, will that ruin their brand? Will that cheapen the brand? I see a lot of companies playing fast and loose with some of these quote unquote sacred cows. It will be interesting to see who learns the lesson and who actually succeeds in that realm.
Well, somebody got to jump, right? Somebody has to jump. Xbox has typically been Xbox, but Microsoft's typically been the one to jump. A lot of times, if we're talking Xbox, they specifically, Game Pass was a jump. I would say, right? That was a risk.
Yeah,
I think we can all we what if Game Pass didn't work, right? Where would the I don't even know if they would we'd have an Xbox if Game Pass didn't really do what it what it ended up doing or turn into what it ended up turning into. So they tend to be the one that take the risk and kind of take their first leap. But it is an interesting question to have, though, man. But I know we're kind of winding time down here. I wanted to get this in because it's been such a big topic.
I hijacked the show. Sorry.
No, you're good, bro.
Fuzzy just got the wheels turning. Yeah, I thought about it before, and then when he brought it up, I was like, "We got a good panel for this one. Let me start Asante with this thing." So let's go.
I love that. We hadn't talked about Windows phones in forever, Pong. I got to go back in the archives and bring up the last time we talked about like Windows Phone anything. It's been ages since it came.
Next time I come, we can talk about the Palm Pre. I'll be quiet.
Oh, I own the Palm Pre, sir. Let's talk Palm. Palm was the deal, brother.
Terrible.
I own a lot of Palms. Let's go. One of the worst designs of phones in history, though.
Lord have mercy.
Oh my God, man! I was working in cell phones at that point, so I know. Anyways, continue.
Can we talk about pagers?
Yes, no. We could. We could talk pagers too. We could talk pager code. Let's go.
Yeah, you guys are terrible. Hey, we're definitely dating ourselves on this show for sure. But no, just to end the show on kind of a light note, right? Like obviously the biggest game currently in as far as topic of conversation, people playing it, obviously it's been Palworld. And I just want to it's been like a week now, I'd say, right? It's Friday or Saturday now. So it's been like a week. So just kind of where you guys at with the sustained success of the game, like just where you guys at? Like, is this thing? Is it really is it really what we thought it was at this point in time? We could kind of just rapid fire this if you guys want.
Yes.
Great goddamn answer. And with that one, we're gonna get out of here. No, go ahead, man.
Well, they passed their concurrent, record today again.
Yeah, 2.1.
Yeah, the numbers are sticking around and they're still slightly growing. So, it seems like good things for that game going forward, man.
There's a million two playing right now.
Yeah, it's gonna stick around for a long time, I think, and it's gonna continue to grow. It's a fun game. It's super engaging. I'm not gonna be playing as much of it coming up because there's a whole lot of other stuff I want to play, like Tekken 8 tonight. But it's I think despite all the negativity that was trying to be spread towards it, it's succeeding, in many ways, and they have a bright future ahead for that studio. So
awesome. Oh, and what's cool is the first time this is something that's legitimately made Nintendo kind of uncomfortable. I think it's kind of cool seeing that too. We don't see that ever, by the way. We never see
the whole industry is uncomfortable right now.
Well, yeah.
Let's be real. There's a lot.
You think so? You think there's a lot of devs looking at woke up?
Listen, we've seen them online. We've seen them online. The hate for this success is real.
It's crazy.
In a lot of places.
Starfield.
Yeah. Well, yeah, obviously, because again, the studio, if you listen to the interviews, I've said this on every show, but I can't believe it because I've listened or read some of the interviews that they've done. If what they say is legit, this game has no right existing, right? That they did everything ass backwards and against the rules of game creation, and they didn't know what they were doing. Yeah. Even never used Unreal Engine 5. The lead dude is learning how to optimize Unreal Engine 5 in the last couple of weeks up to launch. Yo, they did everything the wrong way that we are told makes game making, game development a miracle that we even get anything. And this studio just shows up and says, yeah, here you go. And blam, they got a phenomenon on their hand. Like, again, there is a lot of salt from the actual dev community. I'm sure some big publishers, CEO, anytime a game like this, but that's what's great about gaming, right? That's what's beautiful about gaming. That's what we always talk about. The disruption factor that the disruption factor that an indie title or a AA game or from a small unknown dev can do shows the health of this industry and what a great spot it's in, because the power does seem to be at the top with AAAs, but we always get reminders that that's not always the case in the gaming industry, right? That it's not always the big dogs that just makes all the money. And the fact that they could do it on a, shoestring budget, literally, and come out and sell the way they did at a price point that is something that we talk about a lot, price points. They came in at a price point. They nailed it. Again, it's not even the full game. It's early access. And here we are. Again, the lowest concurrent subscribers they've had in the past 8, or concurrent players that they've had in the last 8 days on Steam. The lowest mark in the last the last 7 days, the last week is 661,000 people. That's the lowest concurrent mark they've hit. This is definitely sustainable. I'll take my point here. It's definitely sustainable. This is going to have legs as long as the devs can do what they've said that they're going to do. Again, this caught them off guard. They are understaffed, obviously, but if they can diligently work at the little things that need to be fixed, and then slowly get to the point where they have it stable, and then really start focusing on the stuff that they talked about they wanted to add, and get this to a 1.0 launch. This is a game that people will continuously come back to, because people talk about the survival aspects, people talk about the Pokemon aspects, people talk about all of that. For me, the thing that they really nailed, and you all know what it is that I love, is they nailed a pretty damn good sandbox experience of exploration in this game. And if they can add to that, people are going to keep coming back for that dopamine hit. Now, like Mav said, some of us yeah, I'm not uninstalling it. I will play it from time to time, but we got so much to play. But
for sure.
streamers and the people that get hooked on these games, this is a never-ending game if the developers can do it properly. This is one of those games as a franchise, as a new IP that can live on for years and continue to do big numbers. And when they expand it, they'll hit bigger numbers again, just like we see in all the other games.
Imagine
but I definitely think this has got legs.
Exactly. Type of huge PAL event or something.
Exactly. I saw somebody on Twitter put out that, you know, what's next is Pocket Pair is going to launch a card game based on Palworld. You know what's coming. You know what's coming. I saw that. It was hilarious. Yeah. But if they do it right, seriously, if they do it right, yes, this game is not a flash in the pan. It's not just a moment to moment wonder that just came out of the. This will be something that can sustain itself 100%. I believe that. I mean, we'll see if it's right or not. But as long as the developers do it, everything. This thing will continue on for sure.
Asante, I gotta hear your takes on this, brother. I gotta get you while I got you here. I gotta hear your takes quickly on Palworld and just the sustainability. And I think one thing too, I just want to throw mine in here too. That's very important. And Paul, you kind of touched on it. It's a community builder.
Yes,
that's really key to like longevity. You got to be able to like foster a community, and just between the love for the characters, the instant success, the world they'll be able to create, the individuality, you be able to express yourself in the game the way you're able to with the different characters. You can play how you want. It's such a fulfilling experience, and it's still in game preview. It's not even a full experience, but it's fulfilling to play the game. You can jump in for 30 minutes, you can jump in for 30 hours if you wanted to, and you still feel fulfilled in the time you're playing. That's hard to do the first time around, and they were able to nail that and still leave themselves wiggle room for more, which is really impressive for a dev team, Kesante, that didn't even know what the hell they were doing.
Yep. I think that there are a lot of disingenuous takes about its success and why it should or should not be getting the accolades it's getting. I have tried to play it. I have not been successful so far because it came out during the week when I really I barely had a chance to play like games that I was in the middle of. Work was killing me. I tried to play it via Game Pass cloud streaming, and they said 5 minutes, and I said no, thank you. So since that time, I have not had a chance to play it, and all I've gotten a chance to see are the various highlights of people playing it, and also the all the consternation and all the drama that's surrounding it. It's clear, right? It's absolutely clear that if it was a game that was available everywhere, including PlayStation, that would not be the case about this conversation. Because it's not there, a lot of hay is being thrown at it. It's pretty darn clear, right? As far as the game itself, I hear it's a specific crowd that really, really, really enjoys it, and it's caught the zeitgeist by storm, right? There are those who are that it harkens back to the days of Pokemon glory and all of that. And I will admit, I for one, my gray beards are showing. Pokemon didn't catch me. I was a little older when that
you and me both.
It didn't.
You and me both.
It didn't. Right.
I had zero interest in this game when it came out because of that. I have no opinion
exactly
toward Pokemon.
Exactly. So because of that, like I'm not running to go play this game. Will I play it? I hear the longer I wait, the better it will be, because as of right now, they're getting their feet beneath them. This story sounds very similar to me to another development studio that now everybody seems to forget that now they are solidified as a gaming powerhouse. But in the beginning, they had exactly this same situation. And who am I talking about? I am talking about, anybody know?
Fortnite?
Fortnite to a lesser extent, but more to PUBG.
Oh yeah.
That game was barely playable when it came out. It was horrible for many, many, many months. They were barely getting their feet beneath them. The developer had to use his Arma mod to its fullest extent, and now basically they had to learn how to develop this game while they weren't starting, right? So it took a while, but now who will even think of those days with PUBG? They are a solidified powerhouse in this multiplayer game, right? So give them time. I think it's going to be great. I'm sure, much like Fortnite, eventually y'all will get me in there kicking and screaming, and by then it'll be more of a quality, more solidified product because as it's still in early access and they're working on it. But good for them, the good dev team, small team. They're learning as they go. When people keep talking about support the devs, this is what they're talking about, right? Support these devs, the ones who actually are indie, who actually need your support.
Seems like a whole lot of teardown going on right now there.
Yeah, what's going on with that, man? It's crazy. It's crazy that a lot of these games media and journalists and stuff that act like they want to support devs and hype up devs or feel bad for them when they're laid off actually go out of their way to tear shit down so much. It's just absolutely insane.
Because they blew the mystique up out of the water. And that's why, and to Keisante's point, if it was on other platforms, I think some of this would not be here as well. Absolutely. But there is some of it that, again, because they did say things absolutely the wrong way, that the mystique of game making, that it is and again, I'm not taking anything away from gaming. Yeah, I'm not taking anything away from game devs. Obviously, it's a tough business and it's a tough job. It takes talent, but the facts are that they've created a very special mystique around game development. And again, that's why they use terms like it's a miracle that you even get a game. So be appreciative. Like they use that terminology, and I think this flies in the face of all of it, and they hate it. They can't stand it.
You're right. It's such a turns everything on its head. Every normal thing about game development got turned on its head. Like this is not supposed to happen. Like this was not. This is an accident. This is rubber. This is essentially rubber. Yep. Like how rubber was made. It was an accident. You know what I mean?
It was an accident.
Palworld is rubber, man. Like this is not supposed to happen at all.
I love it.
People are not able to understand that. Like they really don't understand. It's weird to see. Like, wait a minute. I thought we all wanted stuff that was fun. Why are we having a hard time?
Fun's on the low priority list.
My bad. Okay.
In game development, it's all about the dollar that you can make off of it, and the fun factor is usually like the last thing. But at least it seems like a lot of studios have kind of forgotten that. But this studio kind of focused on the fun factor and just wanted to make something that people would play. And hey, it was caught fire. So yeah.
You want to have fun with this other contradiction here from games media as well? So in one world, why are you overreacting to our low score of this game? Because, it's just our opinion. It's almost like other people enjoy different things. It's just a score. It doesn't mean anything really. To now, what do you mean you're not giving us a code? Do we want to live in a world where our opinion is not valued? Like we do so much for the consumers that you're going to hold stuff back from us so we can inform the consumer on what's good and not? How dare you not give us a code for Suicide Squad? We should be the ones to tell people if it's a good game or not. But
entitled.
Forget what I said that other time when I said that our views are just subjective and doesn't really matter because it's just a person's opinion. Why would you look too much into that? Oh, but now it's important. Now it holds value. Oh, shut up, IGN and all the other games media. That kind of stuff. You suck. You don't deserve it. Sorry.
Burn, baby, burn. Burn to the ground. I love it. This is fantastic.
Focus for the chaos, man.
Burn it.
Talking to Paul.
No. Legacy media can all burn in hell for as I care, man. These guys, I cannot believe they have zero self-awareness. Heaven forbid that a company decide to take the marketing aspect of their game, their product in their hands and make a decision that, hey, we're not going to give it to people who have talked shitty about this. And I don't care what you want to say, if that's manipulating scores, I don't care. The fact that they're going to say, let the gamers play the game at the same time as these reviewers, and let's let everybody have a discussion about what this game is a beautiful thing. If more devs and publishers want to start doing this, more power to you. Again, your influence over the general population is fading fast, and you guys need to deal with it, and you're not entitled to a damn thing. This is their game. If it hurts them, that is the risk that they take by doing something like this. But it is their product, they're putting it out, their creation. You don't get to say, oh, I criticized it, so they're not giving me a score. That's bullshit. No, it's not. Nobody has to give you anything. You don't have a contract. There's no video game laws that say that you are entitled to this. So go F off and cry in a corner somewhere, because you guys aren't getting one. And guess what? The gamers themselves, all of us who are going to be playing at day one, will be able to talk about it, and it'll be all mixed in with all you guys as well that think you have some kind of power here. I think it's a beautiful situation. Let's go. Let's go, Rocksteady.
Squirm, baby, squirm. I love seeing them squirm. They're so like paranoid about their self-importance right now. They're just like, are we not as big as we thought we were?
Well,
are we losing it? Are we losing our power?
The one thing I enjoy about, like, I understand the community can be crazy, it gets toxic, the fanboy stuff gets old, the posturing gets old, the arguing, all the bickering, all the little stuff. But the one thing I do appreciate about the community as it grows is that we have realized, or at least seem to realize, that we actually do hold, more of an influence as voices, like just regular content creators, than like the standard journalists. You know what I mean? Like, I think we've started to realize that, and that's why you see things like this happening. And I think that developers have realized that too. Like, we don't need to send this code to this journalist that feels entitled, like we're gonna send it to them no matter what kind of review they gave us.
They did a trial run. PTK, they did a trial run. They allowed the legacy media, the mainstream journalists that had that early look at it through the beta. They let them come out and kept all of us, that the gamers that got in on the beta, under NDA, right? They tried it. And what came out? Nothing but about 90% negativity, right? About what the game wasn't, what it should have been, all that kind of stuff. What did they do? Fine. We'll let the gamers talk about it. What happened? Was there some negativity from some of the gamers? Absolutely. Not every game's going to be for everybody. There was some criticism. There's some valid criticism. But at the same time, there was this upswell of those of us that played it and enjoyed it also talking about the game, about the good qualities, about what the game was. And they saw that instantaneously on social media. They saw the impact that it had on some people who are sitting on the fence of specifically Suicide Squad. And I think Rocksteady looked at that and said, bingo, that's what we're going to do. We'll let everybody talk about this game at the same damn time when it comes out.
Yeah, no, I let me get to this quick super chat too, but great point, Pong. Shout out to the $4.99 super chat from Spartan661. Appreciate you. He said, this is an all-star cast. Hit the like button, subscribe. Shout out to everyone on the panel that got up earlier this morning doing the other shows. Shout out
Appreciate
to
you, Spartan.
661 for the $4.99 super chat. Appreciate you. But that is a great damn point, man. And I kind of want to throw something over to you before we wrap it up, Asante. Before we get out of here, just kind of on that whole media part, bro. Like, you being a content creator, right? Obviously, all of us here on the panel are content creators, but you being a content creator as well, have you noticed that change as far as the developer recognizing that they don't need to go to the standard media, standard journalism route anymore?
Not quite yet. But I think it's time that they start noticing that, if there is a criticism that I have, I feel like, because like you guys have expertly described, right, the established norm have become very complacent and fat in their gatekeeping, right, and by and large, status quo is status quo, and they go into everything with agendas, right. There are many examples of that we see. For me, the most egregious example
talking about as well.
Exactly. That's right. Absolutely. For me, the most egregious example of that is what do you call it? Hogwarts Legacy. Still the ghost of the most successful game that no one will ever want to talk about.
Yeah.
Right.
It's insane.
So like I think this is the time that we and as you guys have said, whenever we speak unified, people really hear us. This is the time that we start shifting that power and making sure that the voices that hear and are heard and taken seriously are community voices and not the established voices, because that's changing the narrative. People aren't taking them as seriously as they used to. And obviously that now you see that they feel that their positions are threatened, right? And they'll continue to feel threatened. Well, we out here. We gonna be out here. Catch us at the at the Gamescom 2024. I'll be there. We all gonna be there. We're gonna be doing different things in different places because the community now can speak for itself rather than waiting for the gatekeepers to get to decide to throw them a bone. We're sick and tired of it. So we want to be the change we want to see.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Absolutely. And I think on that note, we're going to go ahead and wrap up this episode 333 of the Shop Podcast. Chat, once again, you guys were amazing. Appreciate every single one of you guys coming through, man. We had a phenomenal show, phenomenal guest, phenomenal panel. Once again, this is what you're going to get every single week when you hang out here at the Shop Podcast, become a member here, do all those things, man. I greatly appreciate you guys. But before we get out of here, chat, we got to get around the horn and let everybody know where they were at, where you can find them, all of those goodies. But we're going to start with you, K. Asante. Once again, bro, I appreciate you, man. Anytime you're in the crib here at the Shop Podcast, it's always a good talk. The chat's always going crazy. We appreciate having you here, but let everybody know where they can find you, brother.
Oh, well, I appreciate always being invited. In the past, I had more free time. These days, my time is difficult, but whenever possible, I always appreciate being let in the front door to hang out with my brothers. I appreciate you guys so much for having me. You can find me, K. Asante, TK Asante, on the Xbox, the PlayStation, all those places that you can type in search engines and find my name in the socials. I'm there. You follow me, I follow you back. I always appreciate having a great chat with the community. These days I'm more the handheld gamer because I can't sit in front of my TV or in front of my PC like I used to. But trying to keep it moving and playing little handheld games, little small. I think the term filler games are derivative because I end up spending more time playing them than anything else. But I'm really enjoying some indies these days. So yeah, come check us out. Saturdays, the Gaming Circle podcast. We end up talking about lots of cool, weird indies that we've come across. So once again, appreciate the invite. Thank you.
Not a problem at all. And once again, guys, please go follow Asante. Go check out the Gamer Circle podcast. Shout out to Everborn as well too. We gotta shout out the other half of the Gamer Circle podcast.
The slanderous one, yes.
The slanderous one, yes. Mr. Sega himself, man. Shout out to Mr. Everborn. But thank you, K. Asante, for coming out, hanging out with us, spend a little bit of time on a Saturday evening. We appreciate you. You'll be back, so one of the good ones, bro. I greatly enjoy having you on. But let's go ahead and throw this over to Mav coming in late, bro. Hey, I got to send the link out. It's becoming a weekly thing at this point, brother. I had to get the link out. Too good of a conversation, too big of a topic, but glad to have you here. The people know where you at, but let them know if they don't.
Yeah, I appreciate you sending me the invite again, PTK. Yeah, if you guys want to check out what we got going on, it's over on Fun Speculation on YouTube. You got Pong Soul and Fuzzy hanging out over there. It was great catching up with you, K. Asante, aka Captain Keys, aka Chef. But yeah, it's good talking to you.
That's
again,
really
man.
why he's on the handheld all the time, because he's on set. He's on set.
Oh
man.
my
Absolutely.
god.
And PTK is always great, man. And chat, you rock.
Man, appreciate you, Mav. And once again, it's easy. You always know Mav is in the building. He's here every single week. If he's not here, he's in chat. FSP love, man. That's fam. So go follow Mav as well. You guys know, show the FSP love, and shout out to everybody who came out as well too. Another phenomenal show, Mav, last night. You put on a few shows a week, so if you guys want to go find that content, it's pretty easy to find. Go follow Mav as well too. But I appreciate you coming through last minute as well, brother. You always Mr. Reliable, so we love having you here, Mav. But to my two right hand man, my brothers, Pong, Fuzz, another phenomenal show in the books. Had big topics, great guests as well, per usual here at the shop. But Pong, get us out of here, man.
Another great show, man. And again, great guests show up. Like I always say, when I'm talking about our show, I'm like, never know. I know PTK is going to put up the bat signal. Who's going to show up? We don't have a clue, but it's going to be freaking great no matter what. And it was a pleasure to have K. Asante, of course, back again, brother. Love hearing your thoughts, man. Thank you for bringing it tonight and giving us your time here on the Shop Podcast. It's been way too long, brother. So thank you for that. And of course, Mav popping in here. man, it's just like home around here, man. This is like another show with my brothers, right? So great to see Mav here as well, of course, and PTK and Fuzzy, all brothers from another, all my extended family. Love you all. Great show. And chat, you guys are amazing. Coming out, showing the love each and every Saturday, and it's just building and building and building. Thank you all for what you do, giving us your time and giving us your thoughts in the chat as well. You are a part of the show just like we are. So thank you for that. Nothing but love and respect out there. Listen, y'all. You know where to find me. Pongso on the X, formerly known as Twitter, and on the Xbox. I will follow you if you follow me. And then, of course, next week it starts. You got to hit Tuesdays because my brother from another Steel Rain is now a panel member on Xbox Factor Podcast. That's right. Double Barrel Gaming is the channel. Mr. Boomstick is the man. All good things green. Every Tuesday, 12 p.m. Eastern, 11 o'clock Central Time. Be there for that. PM in the PM goes live on Thursday nights on the Fun Speculation Network. Pong and Mav in the PM every Thursday night, 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 o'clock Central Time. We had a great show this week, as we have been. We're in episodes hundreds now. What are we on? 102 coming up here, Mav, next week. So be ready for that. On Thursday night. Who knows what's going to happen this week? Chances are we're going to know who's taking over Blizzard. So that's probably going to be a big talking point for us once we figured that out. But every Thursday's fun there. And then, of course, back on Fun Speculation Network Friday night for Xbox Ultimate, where the fam gets together. We never know how many people we're going to have there, but it's always going to be a good time. Last night it was just a foursome, right? Mav, myself, Fuzzy, and Jasper. So you gotta be there. You get the different voices in there talking about the same topics you might have heard about during the week, but we also laugh there a lot. So be there every Friday, 10 p.m. Eastern, 9 o'clock Central Time. And then Saturday mornings, you know the drill. It's a 2-tab Saturday. That's right. You gotta have 2 tabs up because you gotta be listening to Everborn and Kay over on the Gaming Circle podcast. But then you got me and Steel going the same time as well. So over on Living Split Screen, my brother from another eye had a great 4-hour show today. We had some OBS problems, man. Talk about bad timing. Anyways, nothing he could do. But we still powered through it. You know you're going to get 4+ hours every Saturday morning. So even if you listen to Gaming Circle and then you pop over, we're still on. Be there Saturday morning, 9 a.m. or 10 p.m. or 10 a.m. Eastern, 9 o'clock Central Time for Living Split Screen, and then back here, God willing, for another episode with some of my favorite people on the Shop podcast. Listen, y'all, it's the golden age of gaming. It really, really is. All the nonsense, the doom and gloom, ignore it. Have fun talking about it if you want to, but ignore it. Gaming is where it's at. You guys are all gamers. Get out there, play what you love what you play. Have a great rest of your weekend. PTK, get us out of here, brother.
Appreciate you, Pong. Man, easiest way to keep up with Pong, go hit him up on Twitter, follow him there. Easiest way to keep up with everything that he's doing. But appreciate you, Pong, bringing that energy every single goddamn week. I love it, bro. It's my coffee every single Saturday evening, bro. I appreciate you being here. Thank you so much, man, for what you do for the show and what you add, bro, every single week. So Mr. Fuzzy Belvedere, man, the smooth one himself, man. Great show, great guests, great topics, man.
Man, this was an awesome show. Always love it when we have guests on here, especially when it's Kay and fun speculation on here. And now my cat wants to be under this desk. Get under here. Sorry.
Get away,
I got cats.
Fuzzy's got pussy problems. Jesus.
Hey now.
Wow. Hey, I'm talking cats. What's wrong with all you? What's wrong with all you? Jeez, oh man, can't even use regular English around here. What's going on?
We got 99 problems, but
yeah. And there goes the monetization. Thank you.
Choo choo, motherfuckers. It's cats. It's cats. God damn.
Wow.
Well, yeah.
No, but
Go ahead, Fuzz. Sorry.
This was an awesome show, and like Pong said, this is like what you'll get on like Xbox Ultimate as well, man. It's always a laugh, but man, it was such a good time, chopping up with you guys tonight, and hopefully Xbox and Microsoft are listening because we want that Windows phone back or an Xbox, Windows, Microsoft hybrid kind of phone. So hopefully, fingers crossed we see that sometime soon. But man, oh man, great time here with you guys. Always a pleasure doing this with you guys. Everybody in the chat, thank you so much for taking the time, checking us out. Hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already. And if you want to hear my rambles and rants on anything gaming related, just follow me on the app, formerly known as Twitter at Fuzzy_Belvedere. You can also find me on the Xbox Lunch Break Special on Double Barrel Gaming at 12 noon on Monday on Mr. Boomstick's channel. And then later that evening at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right on Fun Speculations channel for FSP. Definitely check us out there. And then hopefully see you guys here right back in chat next week, next Saturday, same time, same channel on PTK Blam's channel at 8 p.m. Eastern Time for the Shop Podcast. Look forward to seeing you guys then.
Appreciate you, Fuzz. Always coming through, Mr. Consistent. You guys make sure you keep that pressure on Fuzz for those videos. We need that content. So now I'm just playing Fuzz, but I appreciate you being here every single week, man. Thank you so much, man. So last but not least, your boy, the host here of the Shop Podcast, PTK Blam. Follow me everywhere, Twitter, X. If you want to play some games, Xbox Live, hit me up there. All that information is down in the description. I just want to say thank you every single week. You guys come and show up out in chat. I'm seeing new names, new faces. The channel's growing. So if you guys have ideas, hit me up. DMs are always open as well. So I just appreciate and love every single one of you guys spending Saturday with us here at the Shop Podcast. So come back and see us again next week. Same time, same place, same great conversation. Have a great weekend. Play some video games. Be safe. Peace out, everybody.
Later.